All right,
Cool.
you tired of horsing around, Wick? You ready to
No,
get to it?
you saddle up, cowboys. We're
So,
gonna get into it here. Is Vaush a pedophile?
Oh boy, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. No, he might be. It's possible. It's within, like, if there's like an arc, if you drew like a circle of all possible things, there would be a subcircle inside that of Vaush is a pedophile and another subcircle of Vaush isn't. It's possible, but I
Did
don't think he
we
is.
all see his response video, the context
Yes.
video? Just
I have not seen all of it. No,
you've not seen all of
I
it.
was watching Erudite talk about it, but I didn't finish.
Okay. I think we'll start with this. Do you think that the contents of his porn folder were, I guess, for lack of a better word, lolly?
Yes,
Yes.
I
the ones that were lolly. Like, there's others that weren't, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know the ones you mean.
deliberately have not sought them out, so I cannot personally make that
Do
assessment.
you want me to show them to you?
I don't actually. There's a reason I didn't look at it.
You want
So
me to describe them?
I will
Well, I
trust
can.
your judgment for the sake of
Well,
this.
I can describe the
discussion.
two that I can describe two of them to
I
you.
understand there's a horse and a very young girl involved. Is that correct?
That's not the worst one, really.
Oh no.
So here, you can mute if you want, Brianna, but for the sake of the chat,
No. Go ahead.
the worst one is that, so there's a horse that's fucking a woman who does appear to be of age, the blonde, because she has like really big boobs. But while the horse is fucking this woman, there is a lolly rimming the horse's asshole. Yeah. Anyone who's worked on farms knows why this should not turn anybody on. I've been on farms. I think you have as well, Brianna.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Oh,
That's probably the worst one. The most grotesque one is probably that. The other one was it looked like a little girl getting fucked while another little girl was like kneeling, and it was like in the it was in like the full Nelson position. Yeah.
I'm not going to be
Those-
defending that. I can't.
Yeah, no, I understand. The others, like there was like a few blowjob pics, but like the person was of age or the character was of age, and like just like random anime pics that like you can't really tell. Those two are the ones that everyone is losing their mind over.
It does bring up the question, right? Because we only saw a portion of this, right? We only saw a single little bit. Like, what else is there? And I think it's fair, right, to ask that question, like, hey, especially since, as I understand it, Vaush has been very critical of hentai or of lolly and these things. And to find
or of
out
anime in general.
Yeah.
I've heard him say that if you watch anime, you're like a right winger and you're a Nazi. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, that's insane to say that. Like, see, here's the thing, right? For me, it's more Schadenfreude because he's being hung by his own standards. He said so much stuff about this over the years, and now he's finding himself in the position of the people he demonized, and it's like, well, you kind of deserve this, dude.
So, okay, I definitely hear you on that. And yeah, so to be clear, I just want to say this. I'm sure Vaush would not mind like anything I'm gonna say tonight. Like, we're friends, I respect him. I've told him privately this was a mistake. I'll say it here tonight, I can't defend anything, and obviously I am very inclined to cut my friends a break sometimes when it comes to this stuff. So, but I think I can talk about like lolly in this issue in like a wider context. And I think there's a really, I think, Dev, you watch a lot of anime. And I think one of the reasons I've really pulled away from anime is as much as I appreciate the storylines, there is just a perversion that like goes along with it. And like best case scenario, you're talking about like, underwear shots of like women they're at least of age, but like as well as I do that you can't like watch anime without like this constantly being a theme. And I think it carries over to a lot of Switch games that I see. It certainly carries through to a lot of manga. And I think that there is kind of a casual sexualization of children that is constant. And I think that it's hard to like have these hobbies and not get desensitized to it to some degree. Does that make sense to you? Do you know where I'm coming from?
I think it does, yeah.
Yeah.
Here, just so that we all know what we're talking about, because let's start striking things off the list, okay?
Okay.
Because we're all obviously anti-CP, like
Sure.
actual CP of kids, obviously.
Yes.
Um, and
Brave
I do
stance. Brave,
think,
stunning and brave
yeah,
from all of us, by the way.
stunning and brave. I do think that it personally, I think it's kind of ridiculous to treat Lolly as if it's like CP because there's not
Hmm.
actually a child there. I don't think those are equivalent. I don't think that we can say that a person who consumes Lolly is the same morally as a person who consumes CP. I wouldn't say that. There's obviously degrees to what's going on here, right?
Can I just I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I gotta address real quick. Food Chops,
Okay.
what the fuck are you doing? Counterpoints is not
What?
coming on when you're on. We're not ambushing you, and I told you that you would come on after the main segment is done. I didn't know the time that would care. So I understand that you can be frustrated that we're going a little overtime. That's fair. That's fine. But come on, this isn't an ambush. No one's tricking you. No one's doing you dirty. Calm down. You can come on when we're done if you would still like to. It's up to you, right? I'm more than willing to hear you out, but let's not make shit up, please. But let me just kind of talk about because I wanna address you real quick, SFO, on the
Mhm.
Lolly
You can call
isn't
me Dev,
child
by the
porn.
way. That's my actual name.
Dev,
You can just call me
sorry,
Dev.
yes.
Yeah, it's okay.
Um, I guess my question for you would be I understand that Lolly isn't the same as CP, but I think that there is a connection there. And while actual child porn is absolutely worse, 100% across the board, 1,000 times worse, Lolly is still bad, in my opinion.
Right.
Lolly is
Yeah.
still wrong. It's still there is a moral failing for people who consume it and view it and seek it out, in my opinion.
I think so too. Yeah, but I mean, is it something that is so immoral that it should be made illegal?
I don't know about illegal. I don't know if I would take that strong of stance that the government should get involved. But I will say that you should be socially sanctioned, at least somewhat, if you engage in that practice. If I
Mhm.
knew that my babysitter for one of my nephews or nieces consumed lolly content, I would fire them.
Yeah, I mean that's your right? Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's one of those
I
things where it's like there's a bunch of vices in our society, right? Like pornography is a vice, and gambling is a vice, and drinking and drugs are a vice. Clearly, lolly is also a vice, right?
sure.
But we have vices that are legal and vices that are illegal, and it's like
I think
I don't think this one should be illegal.
I think where I fall on with like making it illegal, like this is gonna be gross, but I'm gonna tell you a real story. One of my very favorite games of all time is Danganronpa. I absolutely love that game, mad love for it. I've played through every one of them a
I think
million
I know where you're
times.
going with this. Go on.
So yeah, you probably know. So there's a spin-off game called Danganronpa Another Story. And this is a really, really good, it's a good story, and it's part of a soap opera that I really, really care about. But it's also a game where children are the killers, and like there's a whole sequence of this game that basically you're watching a child like get sexually violated like in a completely gross way in like a game you get on the Sony Vita, right? And it's like I didn't know that garbage was in there when I played it. I haven't played Danganronpa, that particular game, since I beat that section. And it's just it's like there are so many examples of like manga that has literary merit but has these themes, and I wish to god I could just like guarantee like there's a button I could push to like make that go away. I would absolutely click that. But you just like if you criminalize it, then it's like, what's going to happen? Like, everyone that's ever bought, like, X manga, they're going to go to prison. We've got to destroy it. Like, Kindle's liable for all this stuff because you're buying it, like, through the iOS store, or like, it's just, I don't see where it goes. So to
Yeah.
me, what makes sense is I do think it's okay to, and I think we use this too much as a technique, but I think it's okay to publicly shame Lolly. I think it's okay for all of us to go, you know what? If this is something you are enjoying sexually, that actually is degenerate and weird, and you should probably like think about seeing a therapist about that. Like, we do know that this can lead to children being hurt. I think that that's okay.
And I do want to I want to piggyback on this because I think that people saying, well, it's not actually, there's no actual children being harmed with Lolly. That's true, but much like we see the kind of like, it desensitizes you, and and this is just my intuition here. I don't have a study to back this up, but I think that it's like a gateway drug, so to speak, right? This is a starting point for a lot of people. And they will start on this, and then they'll need more extreme things to kind of get off. We see this with pornography too, right? There's a lot of people who start pretty tame, but then they'll need more and more and more and more extreme forms of pornography to get off. And I think that the same applies here. My issue with Vaush specifically, right? There's an old saying, right? It's not the crime, it's the cover up. In this case, it's kind of both. Um, when he did accidentally like leak that, I had some concerns. Let's say that. And I was like, okay, well, let's see what he says. And his responses have been unsatisfying, to put it bluntly. Like his initial response about trying to play it off as like goblin porn. What?
Okay, hold on. So Wick, this is where I can actually be a degenerate. Do you know what he means by goblin porn?
I don't.
I don't.
I would love
Okay.
to know.
Okay, hold on.
I
Give me a
don't know
second.
if I want to, but go ahead for the purpose of this discussion.
Well, I'm going to show you some things. Just don't pull them up on stream, okay?
Oh God, I don't want to go on a list. Okay.
It's completely fine. Just don't pull it up on stream, okay? Here, just wait a second. So,
I'm enough of a pervert. Send it my way. I want to see it.
okay, actually, you know what? This is a safe for work enough drawing. I think that this'll. Oh
I'm
my
not
God!
pulling it up
If
on
the internet
stream
will ever
anyway,
fucking
but-
work. Okay, hold on. Maybe it's not. Actually, you know what? This one will do. Okay.
What's going on?
Oh boy.
I'm trying to find one that's not too bad. Okay. Okay. So, here, I'll DM this to both of you real quick. Okay.
Gonna have
Hold
to
on,
nuke my account. Hold on.
I really, really hope this is just something from Baldur's Gate. I really.
It is not.
Okay,
It's
this
not.
is yeah. This is. It could have
Okay.
been worse. It's
Okay.
It could have been way worse.
Fair enough,
Okay,
fair
so
enough, fair enough.
this body
This is
type in
nothing. Oh,
it's not.
I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
this body type
yeah.
in pornography is called the short stack, right? So a short woman
Oh.
with very big thighs and very big boobs and a very big ass, but she's tiny, she's short. But this creature looks like it's of age, right? Like it's not flat. You know, there's curves here. There's secondary sexual characteristics, but she's just short, right?
It's a goblin.
So
It's obviously a goblin. Fair enough. Right.
it's obviously a goblin, right? But there's also human female characters that are drawn like this in some pornography, where it's short women with big tits and big asses, right? And it's the shortness that puts some people off because, I mean, what's her name? If anyone, oh yeah, Yuzaki-chan. If you look up Yuzaki-chan, she's a short woman with very big boobs, and she's like 22 in her show, but she's like 4'9".
And this is
okay?
to be clear, gang. This is completely safe for work. I'll post it in my Discord even because again, it's just this.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
Sure.
If you just do like a quick Google search for Yuzaki-chan, Uzaki-chan, you're gonna get a girl who's about 4'9", who has really big boobs, and she's like 22 years old, just a short woman, right? And I've seen people online say that this is lolly, and it's like, well, no, it's obviously not. Like,
No.
a little girl doesn't have boobs this fucking big because they're huge, right? She's just short. And when Vaush says goblin porn, he's referring to this body type, which is common in
Okay,
drawn
but
pornography, and he's
that's
saying, "Listen, listen, I didn't think these were little girls. I just thought they were short women."
but that doesn't
That was
match up with the screenshot at all. It's even worse now, right? Because
Mhm.
that's just
Yep.
wrong.
It is just wrong, yeah.
Okay, so I watched the whole Vaush video, and I hear you, Dev, and I think that's really fair. And I think, you know, anytime the left, like if a woman is not portrayed as a child, right? That's kind of where my interest in this like ends. You know, and I'm not interested in like policing people's sexuality. I just think like societally, I think it's okay to say if you're really, really into this stuff, like if you're getting off on it, if you're seeking it out, I think that's really strong evidence that you should like go see a therapist so you don't hurt someone. I think that's an okay message to say. I want to take what
Hold
Vaush's
real
video.
quick,
Oh,
just
please,
real quick,
please,
yeah.
please proceed.
So
Yeah.
when you say that, you mean lollies, not short stacks, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I'm talking, you know, someone who's obviously an underage, like
Yeah.
prepubescent person
Mhm.
in a
Yeah.
sexual situation, right?
So I guess real quick, because like there's definitely things when I mentioned that we should start crossing off some things off the list, right?
Sure.
Because if you look at Senra and Kagura, those girls are 17. They're of age in Canada, they're below age in America. They're 17, but they have like complete secondary sexual characteristics, right?
Sure.
They have big butts, they have big boobs. The number on paper in the lore is underage, but if you're attracted to that, you're probably not a pedophile because
Right.
they are of age women. No, they look like of age women. They're not of age, but you know what I mean, right? Like the difference between somebody who's attracted to a woman who they think is above the age of consent, but is actually below the age of consent. The difference between that and someone who is attracted to a child who they know is below the age of consent because they don't have secondary sexual characteristics. Those two things are different things, right? And there's a lot of conflation whenever we talk about these things. I,
Yeah.
I know, I know, like you've both probably seen that one cosplayer who's 4'11" and who's very petite, and
Mhm.
she's like in her mid-20s, and she does cosplay, and people say that she's a lolly, and it's like no, she's not, even though she has like you know what I'm talking about from
Yeah.
One Punch Man.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've seen you talk about
But
this.
Hmm.
and I'm going to push back on this because I agree with you in general, but I think people play in the gray area to push and normalize what I would consider lolly, right? The meme going around like, oh, it's just a 6,000-year-old woman trapped in the body of a 14-year-old girl, right? Like that's
Yeah, that's the other
it's
thing.
a
The other.
problem, and I think that we look. I don't know if Vaush is a pedophile. I don't. I don't. I invited him on stream to talk about it, but he said, and I think wisely so, that it didn't merit a live stream, right? I get that, but I just wish his video response had addressed it better. I still have a lot of problems and I still have a lot of questions.
So,
As I
so this
understand it,
is
his video,
where,
if I
yeah.
may, if I understand his video response was basically just, "Oh, I was going through it so fast, I didn't notice the lolly within it." And I, what he's,
I mean,
huh?
I think that's a little not charitable, but let's go through Vaush's video one at a time
okay,
because
yeah.
I think there's an assumption that everyone out there knows all this lore about every single one of the streamers, right? And I'm someone that has, hand to God, my only exposure to any of those clips that Vaush, like a Vaush, like saying things that made it sound like he was sympathetic to pedophilia, was hearing Ethan Klein play them, right? So the Vaush video really goes clip by clip by clip by clip by clip by clip painstakingly for like probably it's an hour and 10 minutes before he even gets to the lolly in the folder on his computer, right? And I think for some of these, he gives really good examples of where Ethan Klein took out some really critical context to it. One example of that is the Mr. Girl conversation. He plays it in full, and I think anyone that's listening to that conversation honestly is going to come to the conclusion that Vaush is uh, utterly horrified by the pervy way that Mr. Girl is talking about these issues there. Like, it's deeply uncomfortable to listen to. Vaush is disgusted. I'm disgusted, right? And then it's some of the other clips where he is so clearly saying things that are just edgelord debate, bro. And Vaush is going like, I have no defense for this. And I'm like, good. Like, this is a terrible thing to say. There's no defense for this. I wish you'd just apologize more forcefully so we could all move on. So, like, the first hour and 10 minutes of this video is like with a lot of evidence going through all of these claims and giving Vaush's side of the story for that. And I'm not saying I think he did all of it successfully, but I think it's really mischaracterizing the nature of this work to, say it's like this one statement he said about the lolicon folder.
So here's the thing. Like I said, I haven't seen his full video
Mhm.
yet, but I have seen him explain these clips in previous streams, like a year ago or whatever. I've seen him talk about these things before. He's talked about these things many times before, it seems like. And he always says like the big one that everyone remembers before this event, the big one that everyone remembered was the comparison with cobalt mining and child labor, right? And how if we allow that, we must also allow child porn. And
Yeah.
it's like, and he always says like, whenever I've heard him explain that in the future, he's been like, yeah, that's clearly like me being an edgelord debate bro. The obvious reply is we shouldn't have either of those things, not that we should allow one of them because we allow the other, right? Like that's his point. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, fair enough. You just said it really, really fucking poorly, right? The issue is that like it's still not really a one-to-one comparison because the the product of the cobalt mining is not the suffering of children. The product of CP is the suffering of children. So it's not. It's you can't. It's not a good. He didn't make a good argument basically
Right.
when he.
Yeah,
But
And he
and
says that in the video. He says that
yeah, and
repeatedly.
I just want to be clear. I don't. It another portion of the video. I understand why he did it, but it's just I've heard these clips out of context before. I've heard the context of the clips. That's already baked in the cake when it comes to Vaush for me. It wasn't new to me, so I was like, okay, fair enough. I just kind of fast forwarded through some of those, right? Not all of them. Some of them I hadn't seen, right? But the ones I was familiar with, I was just like, okay, I don't need to see this again. But the reason we're having this discussion isn't those clips. The reason we're having this discussion is because he had Lolly on his computer.
yes,
I
that's
don't
true.
know if that's true because
I
the
think it is, actually.
allegation is that he is a pedophile, and the evidence that people use for that are all those clips in sequence, right?
I mean, that's the backup thing, but the instigating incident, at least in this case, and at least in this round of discourse, and the reason Ethan Klein and all these people have been covering Vaush is because of the leak. Like, it's one thing to make bad arguments. It's one thing to make out of context arguments. But there is something that is just tangible, more tangible, when you, again, totally ad-libbed. It wasn't planned, right? It was just the most genuine kind of mistake where he just, oh, look, this is my porn folder and here's Lolly in it. And then suddenly it adds context to all those past statements that you could read into it bad faith. Again, or good faith. I don't know. That's the thing. And this is a problem. I don't know. And I think Vaush's response to it has been incredibly poor. Now, this is easy to say from the comfort of my chair, right? Again, when you're being attacked, it's hard to give the exact right answers at the right time. But man, like I wanna defend Vaush more, but I can't. It's almost impossible.
So here's the thing, right? Like I don't want to defend Vaush because he's come after me several times over the years. He thinks I'm a Nazi. So I'm happy to see Vaush kind of go down in flames
To
right
be
now.
fair, you have run videos that are like Vaush is unironically evil or something like that.
That was Doomer's video. I backed it up
Yes,
for him because he
yes,
wasn't even the
fair
internet.
point, fair point.
Yeah.
But yes,
Well, I'll be making my own eventually though, for sure, because I don't like him. But basically, I am predisposed to not like Vaush as a person.
Mhm.
And yet at the same time, you know, I'm not going to go as far as someone because Lolly is not CP. I'm not going to go that. I'm not going to. Some people have wanted to basically string this guy up as actually having raped a child, and he did not. Right? That's too far. He didn't do that. And you're right, Wick, when you mentioned that we're not having this conversation right now because of his past statements. We're having this conversation right now because he had it in his folder, and that changes those past statements somewhat. And now we have to think a little bit harder about those past statements.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, it does seem like he's done. Like, I can't see him
Does
recovering
it?
from
Did you
this.
see his? Did you see his stream today? He had 8,000 live viewers.
Oh, sure, but they're all hoping to see something crazy happen
Engagement's
now. I
engagement.
think so.
Engagement's
Engagement's
engagement.
engagement, but only to a point. Only to a point though, because like there's definitely people who would back him up before that won't now. There's definitely people that would like collaborate with him before that won't do that now. I think he's pretty much destroyed any upward reach he has now. That's done. Um, he might be able to recover given enough time. But I mean, the way the internet's taken this is kind of the same way that like they took the Pro Jared canceling from like 2 or 3 years ago, and Pro Jared kind of recovered and kind of didn't. Like he it after the initial wave of people, everyone looking at him to see what was going on. After that passed, he just kind of faded away, and he's like been trying to rebuild, and he's been having like only middling success at doing so.
But
I think in a few weeks, Vaush will definitely have fallen down quite a
I
bit.
guess we'll have to see, because I think what protects Vaush in this instance, right, is that he has been fortressing for a while now, right? So I think that the people who are with his influence, he hasn't been reaching out like in big ways to people, at least not that I've seen. Um, at least not how other people in the space do it. And so I think that kind of insulates him from some of the blowback. Now, I think you're right that it will impact him negatively, but I don't know. I think there's too big of a cult of personality around the guy, honestly.
You think
So
this isn't the end?
I think he's badly mismanaging this entire thing. And,
Mhm.
he should have come out immediately and just straightforwardly apologized. The wrong format, like putting out an hour and 40-minute video. I could barely watch it, right? He's my friend. I could barely watch it. He should have made something shorter and more media focused and just extremely apologized. Um, that's it. This is my read on this. And I before I say this, I just really want to be clear. I could be totally wrong on this. I I'm always inclined to cut my friends a break. I think it's a good part of me. It's a bad part of me. But so I do have a charitable interpretation of this. And this is how I feel about it. So I have had to turn off Vaush's stream so many times over the years because he will be on there talking about something like sexual and in so much insanely gross detail. It's like, nope, I'm done. Like, I remember this one time he's talking about anime, like talks in anime, and is going through them for like lurid detail, talking about them, comparing them, body types, all this stuff. And I'm like, look, I like dudes. This is like this is too much even for me. And there's a part of like his sexual tastes that is just so much part of his public persona that I think his audience is kind of tuned out to it, and I think he himself is tuned out to this. I mean this as a compliment for Vaush, but he is so autistic in person when you meet him. Like, he's lovely, great person, very sharp, very friendly, but there's a pause as you're talking to him. He's just kind of tuned out a little bit in a way that's really familiar if you have friends on the spectrum. And I think that in all of this, I think he's thinking about it like, well, I just like XYZ. I can be into this. I can talk about this in
But
public.
that's a
It's fun.
problem if
And
X,
it's
Y, and
it's wrong.
Z includes
Yes.
lolly. That's a problem for
I
me.
agree. I fully agree. And I would condemn him for that. I do condemn him for it. And I absolutely understand why people think he's a pedophile.
So here's the thing, right? Like it's weird to like Lolly, obviously, but it's one of those things where because he's had so many inflammatory statements in the past regarding pedophilia, and then regarding child porn, and then he's had so many instances of just blanket calling right-wingers pedophiles for liking anime. Like shit like that, right? There are so many people who are predisposed to hate this guy because of all the stuff that he said that has been wrong. That now that it's finally come for him, I think everyone's just like, fuck it, let's go, let's tear him down. Like
It's entertainment.
everyone's
It's
been
entertainment.
waiting.
Right.
Everyone's been
Remember when
waiting
we
for
talked
this to
about
happen because
vultures earlier, right? The circling
yeah.
vultures.
Well, sometimes the vultures actually have a point though. Because like if like this it is very hypocritical to say if you watch anime because you're a right-wing Nazi and you're a pedophile and then to have this shit in your download folder. Like the vultures have a point when they're like, you know what? This like we need to judge this guy by his standard. They have
The
a point.
rain falls on the righteous and the wicked alike. I want to welcome Counterpoints to this show.
Yay!
Right? I know we are so behind schedule on everything, but thank you for joining us. You're right. We have saddled up and we are in deep, gang, horse deep into the discourse. What are your thoughts on this, Connor? Oh, go ahead.
Real quick, have we spoken before, Counterpoints? I think we maybe. I don't remember.
Maybe,
I know who you are, but
yeah, maybe once we might have been on like a Sitch and Adam stream at the same time, but we've been Twitter mutuals and swimming in the same pools for a while now.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, I know who you are, but I don't know if you've ever spoken before.
Yeah, not sure if we've spoken one-on-one, but I'm sure we've exchanged a few DMs, and also again, like Sitch and Adam are like a nexus for my centrist world. But if I could share some thoughts and then ask some pointed questions, I would appreciate it.
Please.
So I have no problems differentiating, and kind of I think Dev had a good instinct, which was let's eliminate what we care about versus what we do care about, and then let's boil down the variables that we are offended by, and let's boil down the variables that we think are bad for society, right? Because that's important. So I think that a 16-year-old who is reading cartoons about 16-year-olds that are sexualized or whatever, I don't give a flying fuck about that. I don't think anybody does. I think even like a young adult, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, whatever. Let's just use Romeo and Juliet rules. If you're a young adult and you're reading about teenagers being teenagers and you find it a little titillating, who gives a shit? I think the main thing that I'm focused on and that most people are focused on is either like pubescent, so people who are budding into their sexuality, like 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, that kind of age gap, and then also prepubescent. That is like the focus, because that would correlate with real world pedophilia. So are people kind of, do you match my reaction or am I off?
I mean,
Do we
generally-
care
I
as
generally-
much about
I'm generally tracking.
17-year-olds
I'm generally getting
watching?
it. Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
No.
do we care about 17-year-olds reading about 17-year-olds who
I
are
don't
going on
100% no.
dates?
of course not.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's the interesting thing, right? Because having grown up with anime, if you go back and watch Sailor Moon from the 90s, I think she's 14 in that show, and I would have been much younger than 14 when I watched that, and I had my
Mhm.
Sailor Moon crush as a kid, right? And there was she definitely wore a short skirt. It would probably be weird for an adult to watch Sailor Moon and have a crush on Sailor Moon, but I don't think it's weird for a kid to watch Sailor Moon and have a crush on Sailor Moon, right?
Is there a moral or philosophical or psychological difference between an adult who looks at a drawn depiction of Sailor Moon where she has secondary sex characteristics versus a picture of Sailor Moon who has no secondary sex characteristics?
I think so, yeah.
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 I think the secondary sex characters are what make that, basically.
Right. And then can we, so this is kind of like where I feel like we fall into a slippery slope. So I think I agree, or I conceptually agree, that I don't care about adults who have secondary sex characteristics playing with like the aesthetics of youth or whatever. Like when I was a young man, I had a girlfriend and we role played some professor stuff, right? Like that wasn't, sorry, so that's not like a problem for me per se, but what it would be is if you were like doing like kiddie shit, you know what I'm saying?
If I may, and this is a good question from I got this in DMs, but I'll just ask you because it's a really good question. Connor, does this do you care about it if it's like a 16 or a 17-year-old being depicted and a 17-year-old's reading about it, but the 17-year-old's being sexualized and being sexual with an adult? Does that
Yeah.
change the
Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
the reason why is because I wouldn't impugn it to the degree that I would prepubescent or pubescent depictions. However, I would still think that that would belie some kind of like psychological issue. For instance, if you become an adult and you're not attracted to other adults, you're attracted to people who don't have they have like perpetual innocence that you are trying to corrupt. Yeah, I think there's something fucked up in your brain. You never matured. You stayed a 17-year-old in your brain.
So
Or you
when
wanna
it
get back
comes
to
to
that
like,
place.
so we've gone through this like striking out things. I guess I'll just ask you directly, Connor. Do you think what do you think of what Vaush did and what Vaush is doing
Well,
responsible?
so that was gonna be one of my pointed questions.
Mm.
So I didn't, to be honest, I kind of assume that whenever a lefty takes a liberal or libertarian perspective on lolicon or shadowcon, I assume that their hard drive is fucked up. So I kind of always assumed that this was the case, to be honest. I always thought of leftists, no offense to lefties, as degenerate sexual freaks. So when this happened, I was kind of like, and then I didn't really look at the specifics. So my pointed question is, with the specifics, is it as bad as people are saying it is, where it's like no secondary
Dev, do you
sexual
want to describe them?
You want me to describe it again?
well, I heard
No.
the short stack, and I heard the difference between short stack and lolly, where you can have the short stack body type, which has secondary
No,
sex
did you hear the
characteristics, but then
description of
there's the ones
what
that
Vaush
don't.
had specifically that we saw?
No, and I guess I will. I'm here, so I might as well suffer to the fullest
Go
extent
ahead,
possible.
give it a
Okay,
go.
so of of all the images, only two of them were really bad.
Okay.
One of them was very clearly a little girl in is it full Nelson with another little girl like kneeling like at the point of contact. And
Okay.
this is the one that Vosh said was the short stacks. And he's like, no, it turns out
Mm,
that she was just being bent and squished, and she was actually a lolly. But I thought it was a short stack. That was his defense there. The
okay.
other one was a horse fucking an of age blonde woman. She had very big boobs. However, standing behind the horse was obviously a lolly who is rimming the horse's asshole.
Christ on a pogo
Ugh.
Yep.
stick. So,
Hmm.
okay. So,
And you know, understanding what anime body types are, I would peg the girl as like 13 or 14.
It's
okay.
disgusting. I mean, if you're defending this, like, you belong on a
Well,
watch list.
this is
Yeah.
the backslide though. So Dev, this is kind of where I wanted to push on you a little bit, because I understand being very nuanced and separating variables, and we're trying to dig into the miasma of this thing with a nuanced way, because the truth is we could all just make fun of Vosh for the next 4 hours. We'd probably have a good time and it would all be funny. And I'm sure the audience would love that as well. But the point is, I think what we can do a little bit better here is actually try to parse apart the variables, so to speak. But one of the things that I saw you say, I think in public a few times, is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. One, I think you shared a meme of like it was like a stick figure drawing, and it was like this is a naked 6-year-old girl, and it's like a arrow or something like that. And then you're kind of like, where did the picture hurt you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so there's kind of like this like liberal or libertarian approach to lolly or shadowcon, where it says like, okay, well, where's the harm? And so can you kind of like expand on that concept for me, because I think that's the kind of thinking that allows you to do these actions in the first place.
So that was in context of I was getting into it with Jangles. And Jangles was taking up the position of like this person needs to be investigated. We need to have the cops come in. And I was like, no, no, you don't. All right. Because for me, this should not be illegal. It's immoral. You shouldn't do it. You probably have problems if you do it, but it should not be illegal. And so that the context of that discussion was that Jangles seemed to be very much like a, if you're into a 17-year-old who has big tits and you can't tell that they're 17, you should be locked up. And it's like, no, you shouldn't. Like
Okay.
that's ridiculous.
Well, yeah. So
Yeah.
understood that part, and I kind of feel like we need to parse apart something there as well. So I've told Brianna Wu this in the past. Whenever we talk about law and law enforcement, I think of the conceptualization of the force of the state. So when you have somebody who produces, let's say, this drawing, the drawing that was consumed, or if you have somebody who consumes that, if you make that illegal, what you're talking about is you have armed people show up to their door and basically put them in restraints and take them before a judge for judgment. So I'm kind of asking, Dev already said no. So I'm kind of asking Wick and Brianna, do you think that cops should show up to people's houses to take
For
them before a
Lolly
judge?
specifically,
For lol,
for
yeah,
Lolly,
for drawn lolly,
probably
no
not.
other thing.
Probably
Okay.
not. However, I
Mhm.
and I want to be clear, just because I don't think it should be illegal doesn't mean I think it should be okay. And I think that we should shun, belittle, mock, etc. those who engage in these practices or try to run cover for these practices. And I think that it's the reason I would be against making it illegal is because where's the line here, right? Like it's because there's a lot to it where it's like, oh, but yeah, I think that no, it shouldn't be
I
illegal,
think you
but it
have to
should
look at
definitely be
it.
an issue. Yeah.
I think you have to look at it in terms of like what is the desired outcome, right? The reason all of us, I assume, we are against this is because we don't want children hurt, and obviously this is a precursor to predatory behavior towards children, right? So like, is putting people in jail that enjoy this stuff, is that the best way forward? Or is like making it extremely clear this is beyond socially unacceptable and you need to go see a therapist immediately if you're sexually into this degeneracy? I think to me that is a better public policy, right? I have to say, I feel like we're really dancing around something that's really different here, which is, Vaush is like, do his intentions matter? Or does the way this happened matter? And to me, it's not like Vaush is like some other streamers who regularly talk about jacking off to Lolly in a way that's really gross and they make that part of their public like profile. Like, this is him accidentally making a mistake with some lewd images and getting out there to the public. I think that's a really, really big distinction, even though I would heavily criticize Vaush for making all kinds of weird sex stuff part of his public persona in a way that's really uncomfortable.
So,
I see you, Connor. I want to do two things. I want to read a bunch of super chats, and then I do have a comment on that. So let me get to the super chats, and then we'll go. $5 from Testicle Johnson. Say, I'm glad to hear Wu will no longer appear on stream with Vaush because of her principles and strong stance against Lolly. $2 from Short Stack Goblin, and this is going to be $6 in total, all from the same person. Lolly shares the same proclivity as CP. Wu won't talk to food shops, but will lie for Vaush. Why does Wu ice food shops but defend Vaush? And then, lastly, $10 from Adam Unfriended to say Lolly is a body type of mature women, either looking more or short women having flat chest.
No, that's moe.
Moe.
It's another body type.
Okay,
Another
moe.
Japanese body type. Yeah.
Having petite body type doesn't equal to a child. Japanese have an obsession with cute, and that's where Lolly comes from. So I guess to just answer that last one real quick, what I think of Lolly, I think it's of body types that are obviously children, right? Obviously 13, 12, 14, whatever. Obviously children. So I don't know if there's like a technical term that I'm not aware of, right? But when I'm speaking of Lolly, that's what I'm talking about, and that's what I find to be reprehensible. I guess to talk to answer you, Brianna, when it comes to intent, I can't read his mind. I can't read Vaush's mind. But in his video, he does say that the reason it's there is because he didn't know it was an accident. And
Yeah.
well, okay,
I
but
don't know if
yes,
I can.
if
Yeah,
I can
go
object
ahead.
to this real quick, the reason why what's more likely a more likely explanation, okay, this is pure conjecture. I'm not basing this on evidence. I'm basing this on vibes. What I see as somebody who probably sympathizes with like the Jordan Peterson level of social conservatism, where I don't take biblical stories literally, but I view them as guideposts for human moral behavior, as things that we should integrate into ourselves in order to hold us to our highest ideals. What I think is when I look at lefties and giga progressives, and they're like, tear down hierarchy, all the moral virtues and laws of the past of religion and dogma. They're all bullshit. They're all social constraints that are put upon us in order to normalize the cis hetero patriarchal perspectives on youth and beauty and sex and all that kind of stuff. What I see is the willingness to play with taboo in kind of like a fearless way, where I almost feel like this is like the natural result of it. Where when you live in a brain that has no constraints, when words don't have firm definitions, when everything is a social construction, how is it not easy to come up with whatever like personal pretext you need to do whatever degenerate shit you want to do? That's part of the reason why conservatives like guardrails in the first place, is
Yeah.
because it typically just says this shit is bad, don't do it. Whereas a lot of lefties will be like, well, what's the definition of bad? And all that shit.
No,
Are
I
you
hear
are you
you.
are you reading a bunch of Latch now counterpoints?
I'm not, but I'd be
Yeah.
interested to know what it is.
Oh, Christopher Latch. He's a
Yeah.
conservative political theorist. Sounds like him.
Well, and
Don't
is he
don't
kind of saying that like conservatives have guardrails because we believe that like you have to have these reinforcements so you don't play in the fucking muck and mire of natural human degeneracy and fucked upness?
That's part of what he says. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to your point, Connor, I would love it. Like, I'm amazed there's not been a national scandal yet about the games on Switch, which regularly have sexualized children. I cannot tell you how many times I
Wait,
bought
what?
like a Japanese RPG on the Switch, and it is just
Oh, Switch, not Twitch. I was like,
Switch.
what? But go
No,
ahead.
Switch, Nintendo Switch.
It's on
I
too.
I
Don't
I
worry
would
about it.
love, yeah. I would love to see a policy. I'd love to see Nintendo get serious about that, because I agree with the guardrails that you're talking about. I really thought about this. Like, what is the reason though that, like, we all agree these images are degenerate. We all agree they're wrong. We all agree that, like, if you want to come to the conclusion you can't watch Vaush anymore after this, that's entirely reasonable. Like, we all agree that Vaush has addressed this very poorly. I think what I'm really coming down to is, like, why do I not think Vaush is a pedophile at the end of the day, even though I am
I
in
know
no
why.
way defending this? And I think it's because Vaush is so disgustingly open about what does turn him on. Like, he's not, if he was a pedophile, there would be clips of him out there sounding like Mr. Girl. And
Well,
maybe I just haven't seen those in the same way of him like talking luridly about stuff. But he does this a lot for horses and cocks
I
and
want to,
like
yeah.
hot women. Like,
yeah,
I
I
know in
I would
far
like
too
to
much
address this head
detail.
on.
Please,
I
yeah.
will let you, but okay, yeah, address it head on first, but then Woo, I do have a pretty hard question for you that I want to ask.
Go for it. Go for it.
So Connor, go first, and then I'll
Well,
go.
so if I can address it. So pedophile, if we're breaking these terms down, it's like lover of children. And I think
Mhm.
I've heard people define this as like a primary or equal sexual attraction to prepubescent children or whatever. And so, for the libertarians, there would obviously be like a separation of ephebophilia, which is people who have a primary sexual attraction to teenagers. So we're kind of separating that out a little bit. But I also don't think that I could be corrected, and if I was corrected, I would want Vosh to go to prison. I don't think of Vosh as being primarily interested in sex with children. I don't really think of him as a danger to children. He doesn't hit me with that vibe. Now, would I let him hang out with my kids alone after this? Probably not. But in general, I just don't get that vibe. I
Yeah.
think that he was playing with fire. He wanted to push the limits of the fucked up shit that he could check out. He did some fucked up, like he either wasn't paying attention or he played some fucked up mind game with himself about why it's not a big deal, and he took a liberal and libertarian perspective on pornography and then downloaded the most fucked up shit that he could possibly think of, and then as a result he consumed that
Well,
shit.
now I have a question
Yeah.
for you
So
too, Connor. Finish your
yeah,
point, but I
so
have a question for both of you.
yeah, so finishing the point, the thing that we're most afraid of, the reason why I think most people knee jerk back away from this, they want to set it on fire, they want to hit it with a flamethrower, is because these are all warning signs of someone who is willing and able to play with those social limits to the point that they might abuse a child. And so if somebody was playing with those things, those ideas over and over and over again, who's to say that they're not going to be like, oh, well, social rules don't really exist for me. So as a result, I'm actually going to go to the most socially egregious sin that our society has.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Question
guess
for
well
both of
said.
you at
Mhm.
this point, because it's been
Sure.
brought up in super chats, and I think we haven't addressed it, but I think it deserves to be addressed. Why are we willing to associate with Vaush, but not food shops?
I
They've
am.
done similar thing. No, I'm with you. Like, I'm willing to hear food shops out at least, right? But what's the difference between these two, right? Why, when we see Vaush having Lolly on his computer, right? And he may put out a bunch of reasons why that was true, but then when food shops, I don't think I've seen her have Lolly, but she has admitted and made some pretty gross statements as well. Like, what's the difference? Why? Yeah, this is both Connor and Woo.
So I want to be really clear about this. My objection to food shops is not that she jacks off to Lolly, which she's talked about many times. Like, as I understand it, she's in therapy for that. Good. I'm really glad. I hope you don't hurt a child. My objection to food shops is she's a drama farmer and she's doing it right now in your chat. And I just like, I don't think it's a good faith conversation. I don't think she's interested in like I think she's interested in like farming drama and getting attention in a really low rent way. And it's like I just don't have to participate in that. I get enough of that. So that's it's just the truth. Like yeah, again, food shops, I like her personally. I used to think she was cool before she went on this like drama farming nonsense that she's doing over and over and over again. So, stop that. Jump into my DMs. You want to talk about it like adults? I'm down. But I have to conclude you're just doing something that is, it's fundamentally exploitive, and I don't want to participate in it.
Yeah,
Well,
I want
hold on.
to.
Can I reply to that real
Sure.
quick
Yeah.
before you answer counterpoints? Because I want something clarified if you don't mind. You're friends with Chud Logic, right? Because he's also a drama
No, a
farmer.
little bit. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, he does much the same stuff.
Yeah.
Is that why you've distanced yourself from him too?
I think
I
I
was about
don't
to say
like
he
going
stays on the
with
sidelines and
Chud.
throws rocks.
Yeah. I mean, I like Chud. I like his stuff. I go on
So
his
do I, by the way.
stream.
Nothing
Yeah.
against him. I like him.
I think that I see now I got to say something mean. And I don't want to, but I think Chud does a better show, and I think there's more talent there, and I just
That's
think
a
there's more
weird
worth.
line, Woo.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real. That's a weird line. This is more entertaining to me, so I'm willing to overlook
No,
the
no,
same
no.
behavior. It's
That's
just
not what I'm saying. I think at the end of the day, like Connor had a discussion about was it Lolly Connor? Can you remind me? You had some really, really good. Yeah, it was about Chud Logic and why he was like
Yeah, I wanted him to be more strong about his stance of it being
correct.
negative and
Correct.
degenerate.
Correct. That was a conversation, and I really felt in that moment Connor was connecting with Chud. It was a real conversation. It wasn't drama farming. It was really exploring something in an entertaining way. I think the fundamental mission there was truth. And I think my assessment of food shops is this fundamentally performative.
The interesting thing about that conversation is I think I went super hard in that conversation because of my fear and anxiety around normalization of this. Whereas
Mhm.
I've watched all of Chud's coverage of the entire event. He's almost said verbatim what I would want him to say. He's
Mhm.
been like reasonable and trying to perceive like Vaush's strongest perceptions while still not letting him get away with bullshit. And so as a result, I feel like he did a really good job of being strong, holding his feet to the fire, but also seeing nuance where there was capacity for it. So I
Yeah.
actually think his coverage of the drama so far has been fantastic.
Yeah.
What I would say when it comes to maybe me being uh, hesitant about food shops versus Vosh, which by the way, I think this variable could totally change, is whether or not I feel like there's an attempt to normalize. So
Yeah.
when I hear
Yes.
food shops saying like, oh well, I had POCD, I was anxious about this for a really long time. As a result, I started consuming a certain style of content. I gratified myself to that content, et cetera, et cetera. What I almost see is like a opening of the discourse to saying we should consider this as a treatment for POCD people, or we should consider
Right.
this as a potential treatment for pedophiles. Whereas what happened with Vaush, let's be real here, he got caught with his hand in the proverbial lolly cookie jar, and then he sprinted in the opposite direction.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but isn't that almost
His
worse?
first stream, well, hold on. His first stream was relatively speaking cope, and then his extended thing was, let me explain all of the clips that I've had in the most painstaking detail possible. Let me whip myself on the back about why it was fucked up and stupid. And then on top of that, here's a half-assed excuse about the stuff that was on my computer because I don't actually want to, probably own up to what the fuck was going on. But he at least has the capacity and desire to feel shame. Whereas I feel like he's not trying to normalize what he did. At least he hasn't so far. And if he did that, if he came back in a month and he was like, hey, gang, turns out what I did was based. You should do whatever you want. Who gives a
Yes.
shit? No kids
Yep.
were exploited. Then I would
Yep.
be like, fuck this guy.
Yep.
I'm never talking to him ever again. And if I can do what I need to do in order to make sure that my circle isn't helping him, I would.
So
Connor,
I'm not gonna
that's
help
hold
normalize
on,
this shit.
hold on, Wick. I have to agree with that. Connor, you just hit it absolutely on the head, which is if you listen to food shops talking about this over and over, it is minimize, it is blame, it is there's no problem, it is not understanding why it's so disturbing. And you're 100% right. Vaush ran in the other direction. And if Vaush had done a fraction of that, you're damned right I would end my friendship with him, and I would have a very, very different message today. So you're God, that is so well said. Is the attempt to normalize this stuff. If I'm remembering correctly, this is what Food Shops has said she wants to do: is normalize these kinds of feelings and these kinds of struggles and make people talk about that. Like, that's disgusting to me. You need to talk to your therapist about it, and you don't need to talk about jacking off to Lolly on stream. It's
Okay.
really, really
so here's a
fucked
couple
up.
things.
Well,
Here's a couple
I,
things.
I have okay.
Okay, a couple
What?
things that I just disagree. 100%. I disagree. I think that almost it's
I'll take some notes.
please. It's almost worse to me, right? When one person, it feels dishonest, and I don't know if Vaush is being dishonest. To be clear, I want to make that clear. I don't know if Vaush is being dishonest, right? But it looks like he is from certain angles. It absolutely does. It looks like he got caught, and that is why he's running away from it, because he got caught. That he had been very critical of this, but engaging in it behind the scenes while also telling people how gross it was. And that it makes me have to reevaluate. Now, I'm not here to defend food shops by any means. However, if she's willing, she can come on after, right? I know that she doesn't want to be ambushed, and so she didn't think Connor was going to be here, and I know that Wu doesn't want to have her on, and that's fair. But she is welcome. We're gonna stream as much as we need, and we'll bring her on after. So unless she annoys me enough that I rule 0 here for my Discord, which she might if she keeps on going, right?
She's so
In
annoying.
chat,
Ugh.
right? But right, I'll say this, that being honest about it, I see your method about normalization. I see that point, but it becomes trust. Like, do I trust Vaush now? I don't know if I do. It's just straight
I
up.
Well,
don't
and you
know if
don't-
I do either. Oh, go ahead.
You don't have to. So for me, shame is a powerful social motivator. And by the way, like, this isn't to be mean to any creators or peers or whatever, but you guys are people. Like I will shake your hands. I'll be your friends. We'll go get drinks whenever we're in town together, et cetera, et cetera. But what I care about is the way that you affect your audience. What ideas are you spreading? How are you affecting young people, et cetera, et cetera. And so you're all mentors to a certain degree. I know Chud doesn't believe that we really have that large of an impact. But let's say that food shops and Vaush were the same size and they were engaging in the same behavior. I would infinitely be more concerned with food shops being like, we should consider this as a way for treatment. We should push this to be normalized. We should welcome non-offending pedophiles into our space. We should do this. We should do that. Which, by the way, I only caught this off of a few streams. Whereas Vaush, like you said, he could be being dishonest where he's running away from this. But at the same time, at least he has like the social feedback loop instinct to know that it was bad and he should be ashamed and he will pay a social consequence for it. And by the way, that's what I want his audience to see. I want them to see that even Vaush, like 400K subscribers,
Do you think he
making
will?
tens of thousands of dollars a month, he's going to pay a social consequence for
he?
this. Yes.
Is he? Did you see his
Yes.
Yes.
numbers
Yes,
today?
he is. Yes, he is.
Yes.
Okay,
At
Yeah.
everyone
minimum,
disagrees with me. I don't
reputational.
know. Maybe I'm being cynical. Maybe this is me being cynical, but I don't know if he's actually going to take a hit, and that
I don't
I
think
think he
he's
will.
going to
worries
take.
me.
I don't think he's going to take. Well, he might take a slight financial hit or whatever. He might have like a core audience because let's face it, he's charismatic. He's good at rhetoric, right? However, I do think that the reason why Destiny, as an example, has been able to get into the rooms like Jordan Peterson, like Ben Shapiro, et cetera, is because he has the social acumen to know when to own arguments and when
Yep.
to kind of like be tactful about them. I think that uh, Destiny really should have been sunk by the incest arguments that he was having 10 years ago. He's not, because he has the ability to articulate, like, I'm not actually into incest. I'm doing debate bro argumentation. This would be like if Destiny was caught with like not just incest porn, but actual like incest videos and photos on his computer, right? That would have prevented him from getting into bigger rooms. So, yes, we might Vosh might stay the same size. He might even grow a little bit online. He might even do well online, but I don't think he's ever going to break into the mainstream as a result of this.
Yeah.
I want to hear
Yeah.
from Dev. Dev's been we've been talking
Yeah.
over Dev.
I've been waiting. I've been waiting.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Dev.
Well,
Now's the time to
everything's
shine,
going
brother.
off. I want everyone to talk, right? Okay. So, I think I've probably like compiled 3 things that I want to say. One of them is from pretty far back in the conversation, so we'll rewind a bit. I think it's really important to point out the difference between um if you're somebody who is into lolly and the lolly is of like a 5-year-old girl, like a 5-year-old character, then you're probably just a pedophile, right?
Yep.
Because there's nothing like there's no secondary sexual characteristics. There's nothing there. You're just a pedophile, most likely. Um, if we're talking about the character who is like 16 or 17 but looks somewhat adult, and you're still into that, you can't treat it the same, because like now it's like, well, why are you into somebody like that? Because it's not that you're a pedophile, it's that you want somebody who is very immature, and that's a different, like, it's still a problem, but it's a different kind of problem, right? It's like, well, why do you want somebody who you have such a massive hold over? If you're like in your 30s and your girlfriend is like 19, that could be a problem. You know what I mean? So they're different conversations. They're both bad, but they're very different conversations.
Yeah, can I throw a rock at the English people real quick?
Sure.
So there's a song called "Girls" by the 1970s Fives, where he's like a 30-year-old man and he's singing about his 17-year-old girlfriend smoking pot with him and how they were just meant to hook up and never do anything again. So what I would say is that the amount of social indignation you should have for an early 30-year-old dating somebody who is just at the age of consent, depending on that country, is the same kind of moral indignation you should have for somebody who consumes hentai of upper teenagers or whatever. So yeah, it's bad, it's gross, and if you're taking advantage of people socially for their lack of maturity, it's gross. It's not the same thing as a prepubescent child. So you said it, but I just wanted to say English people are pedophiles.
Okay.
I came back
The
at the
second
right
thing
point. But go on.
is I do actually
Ephebophiles,
think,
excuse me. English people are
yeah, yeah.
ephebophiles. My bad.
I do actually think you guys are giving food shops a bit of a bad rap here, because I have been watching a fair amount of her in the past couple months, and she has come out and said a lot of the things that you guys say that she should say. Just that no one's watching now. Like, everyone's kind of moved on, right? So she has said, like, listen, I was being I was being a debate bro. I was being an edgelord. I obviously fucked this up. This is not how I feel, and I've heard her say it several times. So it's one of those things where, maybe you guys just haven't heard it, but she has done the disavowals that it seems like the two of you are searching for.
I tell you
Yeah.
what, Connor and I are starting a new show. It's going to debut on Friday of this week. I think we're going to start doing it every Wednesday. We already have a guest this week to talk about the Houthis. But you know what? Food shops, jump into my
Oh.
DMs. We'll see if we can.
She is. I mean, like, we
we'll
don't have to
see.
wait. She's backstage if you want, right?
I don't want to do
Fair
it
enough.
tonight.
Fair enough. Okay.
But yeah, we'll see if we can make
I'll
that happen.
stay after we're done in order to have the convo, and then
Okay.
we can do it later as well.
Sounds
The
great.
But
yeah, so
in my opinion,
Mhm.
based on all the times I've spoken to her, because I've been on her stream a bunch of times, just like doing other debates about other topics, and the stuff of hers that I've seen, I do think this is something that she has actually backed away in much the same way that Vaush has backed away. So
Well,
I think it's fair to give her a shot.
But it's
well,
not
in the
my
chair,
objection. It's the psycho behavior outside of this. That's my objection, right?
She's
the
also pretty
charity.
schizo. Yeah, I know. I know
Yeah.
what you mean.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, but here's the thing. So the charity that this is the thing is I like to say what's in my brain. Okay, that's the way that I communicate. I don't do these like 4D chess moves. However, I think that Destiny, arguably, especially early in his career, with the incest argument or whatever, also with some of his abortion debates, what he was doing was trying to isolate the variables in the most hyperbolic way in order to create the most contentious conversation possible, in order to invite the most amount of controversy so he could get the most amount of eyeballs on his stream. I think that's what he did. As a result, he did pay a social consequence. If you'll remember, Soph was like a dissident right-wing debate girl who was on YouTube for a little bit. She was
I
fucking
remember. Yeah.
funny, but she was actually racist as fuck. Um, she was basically just in a debate with Destiny and just called him a pedophile and an incest weirdo for like 40 minutes straight. And Destiny just had to contend with that over and over again. He's paid a social consequence here, but I think the difference being that he's always said, like, this is a rhetorical strategy. I'm isolating variables. I'm trying to get people to think about why they feel the way that they feel, et cetera, et cetera. I don't actually want to engage in incest, right? And I think the reason why I'm willing to extend to Vaush that level of charity, especially for the slave debate stuff, is because I've seen the logic. I think it's bad logic,
Mhm.
but I get it. Which is you guys don't you guys, meaning normies and liberals, you guys do not pay attention to the negative variables that go into your society. As a result, aren't you just as hypocritical and shitty as people who exploit children? Now, the obvious answer is that there's like little variables that make it different. But at the same time, Nick Diorio, as an example, I like Nick. I think he's one of the best drama shit posters on the internet. However, he basically missed the point. He was like, well, the difference is that nobody understands the exploitation and the supply chain variables. And I'm like, that was Vaush's point to doing that rhetoric in the first place, was to get people to consider the abuse inherent in exploitive
So
global supply chains. So so if you're screaming about how you're wrong because of the exploitation, that was exactly the entire point of that line of
so
argumentation.
people in chat, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, are saying that Destiny recently has defended Lolly a few times
Oh, really?
on his
Yeah,
show
I
recently.
hated that, and I didn't want to lose the brain cells of
Okay.
it. The clip that I saw or whatever was like, who gives a shit if you jack off to fucking cartoon drawings, blah blah blah. Wouldn't it be nice if you had a large streamer who was able to back you? Too bad you burned all of your bridges. That was the 30-second fucking clip that I saw where he was shit talking Vaush for not having Destiny in his corner anymore. But by the way,
Mm.
that's why I went to Dev immediately in this conversation, and I was like, what did you mean by your liberal libertarian jerking off to drawings doesn't hurt anybody thing? And by the way, I think Destiny's dead fucking wrong on this. And the only reason why I'm not engaging on him on this is because we would basically scream at each other over it, and I would lose brain cells and probably blood pressure. And I think that his sycophants would agree with him, but ultimately it would be like optical black eye for all of us.
Optical black eye for all of us. Fair enough.
I think so. If I'm screaming at him, don't jerk off to cartoon kids, and he's like, well, it's my right to as an American, then yeah, I think we all lose in that conversation.
So the
I
third
want
thing.
First
you,
Amendment,
Dev.
Connor.
No, I wanted to ask you, Dev, like, how do you, like, as someone who watches so much anime and, like, you're clearly, like, look, you're in this culture. Like, how do you feel about all of this? Like, what standards do you hold yourself to? Like, do you try to avoid this stuff? Like, how do you kind of thread this needle with your, like, love of the genre that is famous for this kind of stuff?
Which, by the way, this is off-putting to me for the genre. It's part of the reason why I don't participate in the genre. It's because of all this shit.
Same.
So I've definitely found that naturally my tastes have changed as I've gotten older, right?
Mhm.
So there was definitely a period where, like, when I was the same age as the underage girls and I was watching it, I was like, this is clearly meant for me, because this is a 15-year-old girl being sexualized and I'm 15, and that's exactly what I should be looking at, right? And then,
if you're a 15-year-old boy looking at a Sailor Moon cartoon and
No,
she's
no
15
one
in the
cares.
cartoon,
No one
and
cares.
you think that she's cute, nobody gives a fuck. Or at least I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. And then, like, there's definitely a bleed over effect where, like, when you're like 18 or 19 or 20 and you're like, You're still watching the same stuff because it still interests you, but you're like, hold on a minute, I'm a little bit older now. You when you watch it, you kind of you go back into the headspace of when you were 15, and you have to realize, oh, I'm not 15 anymore. This is kind of weird, isn't it? And then after
Yeah.
like after a few viewings, you're like, oh, this is actually really kind of weird, isn't it? Like, and then like eventually I got to a point where like when I watch something like Attack on Titan that's not sexualized at all, I'm just like, it's just a show, right? And
Yeah.
I'm now at a point where watching girls walk around with their tits out in anime is just not as appealing as I've gotten older, and my
Yeah.
taste has just
The
changed away from it.
So
the
Just naturally,
stunting,
you know.
this is an important thing though. So I feel like when you stunt emotionally or socially, then you're going to stay in the milieus of your teenagehood. So if you don't have sexual partners,
Ooh.
if you don't have an advanced social relationships, if you don't have you know, a girlfriend or a wife or whatever, then you're going to stunt towards like the end of your teenage development. And then as a result, the reason why it's weird is because if you're still mentally or emotionally 15 or 16, but you are 32 or 34, then I think you're correctly impugned for not maturing. But guess what? It's going to involve, I hate to say this, it's going to involve touching grass, going to the bar, talking to real people, being socially anxious, and going out and exploring life. It's not going to involve staying inside, listening to your favorite streamer tell you about why jerking off to fucking 13-year-old drawings of children is okay.
and can we
Well,
just
this is all
You got
true.
you
Yeah,
got to
this
pick a
is all
path
true.
there, and there's a
So-
right path and a
so-
wrong path.
and
No, I know exactly what you mean, because here's the thing. I was probably like that when I was like 19 and 20 myself, where like I went through a period of stagnation and like I couldn't handle the fact that my life had radically changed, and like I was failing out of school, I was in a really bad relationship, and I had to drop out and lose the relationship. Well, I didn't lose it right away, but like I had to go through several like life changes of you're not a teenager anymore. You can't keep behaving like this. And so the problem that we're talking about is like lolly seems to be a symptom, but the problem is something very different.
so let's
Right.
talk about
Peter Pan syndrome to a certain degree. People don't want to
Yep.
grow up. And that's
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
if a creator encourages somebody to not grow up, that is a moral indictment of that creator and of their audience to me.
This is-
Lumi's in my
yeah.
Twitch chat saying I will not grow up over and over and over again. Lumi, welcome to the chat.
Yeah, I'll check your hard drive later. We'll see what's on there. Jesus
Well,
Christ.
I will. Let me say this. I think that there is a conversation to be had because you mentioned Dev, right? That you grew up, you were looking at sexualized anime, basically, right? I
Mhm.
think this is and Vaush mentions this to his credit. There is a problem in anime with over sexualization of childlike and sometimes actual children, right? Like that is a big problem. It's one of the reasons I can't get into anime, right? Because I'll be watching a show and I'll be like, oh, this seems interesting. Why are they doing this for a 14-year-old girl?
Yep.
Why is she suddenly
Yep.
why are we doing fan service for this? And I just can't watch it anymore.
Can I Evo psych this a little bit?
Yeah, if you wait, let me get through some super chats and then we'll go to Connor's.
I still haven't covered my third topic yet, but okay, keep going.
Again, this is why these things take long. Maybe we just need like a monthly show where we all get together and talk about issues of the day. I don't know. It'd be great.
Yeah.
We'll
yeah.
Okay,
set it
as
up later,
long
but-
as it's not exclusively about anime and
Absolutely.
Shoto and Lolicon.
Oh God,
Sure.
absolutely not. Let me get through these super chats. $5 from Parallax. Food Chops has historically done horribly defending this. Carry on, hand her the shovel. $5 from Short Stack Goblin. Real dishonest excuse from Connor and Woo. Just be honest. Vaush is too big to fail, so you defend him being a pedophile, but not Food Chops.
I'm not defending shit.
Yep.
Nope.
$2 from Hassan Piker. I'm sorry. $2 from Antelope the Greek to say, Hassan Piker, I'm coming for you. Sam Hyde. Big Goth for £5, or euros, I should say. I'm concerned that the left's fear of groomer discourse and the continuing need to tear down all social barriers will give Vaush a pass on this. And then finally, $5 from Antelope the Greek. What's the IDF about? What's the IDF? How about IDFC? Them J-boys really turning Gaza to Zaza smokes. How y'all going to praise Muhammad but make no profits?
Jesus.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
so Dev,
Okay.
can I give you my Evo Psych explanation for why Japanese people draw hentai and why hentai disproportionately has childlike stuff in it?
Is it all Hikikomori shit?
No, it's actually, it goes back to the nukes. So I
Oh yeah, I know. I know. Go ahead.
yeah,
Dev.
so I joke, but I think there's a serious point here. So the joke is like we either nuke Japan too much or not enough. Like clearly whatever happened is like, it's not working. But the real thing I think is that in Japan, if you look at the history, as soon as you become an adult, it's a horror show. So they're just speaking from a lay perspective on the outside. There's a lot of pressure in academics. There's a lot of pressure to be responsible. There's a lot of pressure to like honor your elders. There's a lot of pressure from World War II, where basically Japan, from if you hear from the outside world, Japan did a whole bunch of fucked up shit. If you're listening to the internal history of Japan, they were justified in everything that they did. They actually whitewashed their fucked up shit in World War II a lot. Also, you have to deal with the fact that two major cities inside your country were evaporated within weeks of each other, annihilating 500,000 people instantaneously. There's actually, I don't even know if it's a theory. I think it might just be true that Godzilla is like the reason why it's a popular series, why it's a force of nature that destroys entire cities, is actual like an honoring of like the nukes, like the concept of being totally powerless in the face of like overwhelming death.
I
And
don't
so
think
I
it's I
think
don't think
that
it's honoring. I think the one
Mhm.
that I heard is basically that it's like a pathological fear in
Right.
their culture now of
That a
overwhelming
city could
power.
just
Yeah.
be evaporated instantaneously. And so I kind of see like the quizzical looks on Brianna and Wick's face. I don't know if I'm reading too much into this, but for
I've definitely heard
me,
this before. Yeah,
Oh
they're
no,
shaking their head.
but
look,
there might
I'm
be
reading
Mhm.
chat and my quizzical looks is all for chat right now. Carry on.
Okay. Okay.
I've heard that theory with Godzilla and I tend to agree with it, and so carry on. Yeah.
Well, so just to wrap it all up, what I would say is that growing up in that culture has to be fucking terrifying. So the way that we were talking about being kind of like a young adult who's latching onto these cartoons as a young American who feels hopeless and doesn't have it, you have stunted social and emotional growth. I think in Japan it's probably very similar, if not overemphasized because of all those cultural pressures that I was talking about.
I think that's fair. I have, and Dev, I know you've got a point you want to get to, but like really, really quickly, I've got a question I want to ask both of you too, Wick, because y'all will know better than I would. Like something, so Dev, you talked about like being a child and having a crush on Sailor Moon, and I get that. But I remember like when I was a teenager, most of the dudes like around me really, really not being into the girls in our class as much as like Jenny McCarthy and Carmen Electra and, like really, really sexy adult women.
Can I
And
point that?
yeah, please go ahead.
It's because we were raised on X-Men, where all of the women in there had huge bazongas and
Fair,
huge donks
fair.
and crazy emphasized secondary sexual characteristics. And we had like Maxim and all those things just showing us women's with huge tatas and huge badonks.
Sports
And as a
Illustrated,
result,
baby.
the 1980s and the 1990s raised young American men to have a fascination with very sexually developed women, whereas I would say that and part of the reason why I think the anime subculture was partially disparaged is because it was viewed as like frilly and effeminate and kind of like girly and appealing to a weaker thing than the testosterone filled GI
Yeah.
Joe. X-Men. I can still see the girl's butt. Does anybody remember? So it's
From
like
X-Men,
Wol-
Rogue.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's Wolverine. He's looking at the picture in his bed, but it's the girl's butt from the opening
Yep.
credits. Is it Rogue? Is it her butt?
It's Rogue. It's Rogue. Yeah. It's Rogue.
Yeah, so that like automatically guaranteed that I would be straight and
Okay.
into adult
I
women
just
Yeah.
want to
almost
push
So
back.
here's the
immediately.
thing. Like I'm a
Go
bit
ahead.
I'm a bit younger than you guys. So for me, I was more raised in the 2000s. I was more going through puberty
See,
in the
that's the
2000s.
problem.
There we go.
So for me, it was anime and it was petite girls,
That's
which is a
what
different
happened.
See?
situation.
This is the problem.
See?
I never really had crush on anime characters. I didn't really watch anime growing up or cartoons and things like that. My first crushes, right, were like my second grade teacher and Sports Illustrated. When I found that, I was like, ooh, right?
Oh, hi.
And that was that was my things.
What
when it
era
came
are
to
we talking about? Tyra
90s.
Banks, like.
Oh, do you think I knew their names? Was I like, oh, who is this? What is their name? I didn't look up their names. That's weird.
Okay, but yeah, like adult women.
I
Yeah,
knew
it
their
was
names.
adult
fair enough.
women. Absolutely.
This is why I don't understand about anime, because it is drawn and it so consistently focuses on these like very young characters, and I truly don't. I just, maybe it's a cultural difference, but I'm not convinced that the consumers are demanding that for all the talk about fan service. I think the
Well,
people
No,
that make anime are
I
perverts.
well,
well,
no, I
no,
think there's coming of age. Coming of age is an important. It's an important ritualistic part of culture, and there's also like a lot of coming of age stories that I think are probably pretty good in animation. I forget the main ones that are trying to pop into my head, but Full Metal Alchemist. Also, come on, what's the one where the girl's parents turn into pigs? Gone with the something.
oh, Spirit Away.
Oh,
Spirited
I've
Away.
seen that.
So yeah, so these are like they're I think the ages for these characters are between 8 and 12, and they are fucked up adventures with interesting moral and mythological conundrums that these kids have to face, and it's basically about being a kid and
Yeah.
facing forces that are 10,000 times larger than you. And I
Yes, that
think
was a
that
Disney movie, but they don't have sex scenes in Disney
Well,
movies.
hold on, because
true, but Jasmine
so that's true. Yeah,
Jasmine
I
also
think
made me
the
very
issue.
straight.
I think the issue is that you're just not looking at the right stuff because there's a lot of anime that's not sexualized. There's a lot of it
Yeah.
out there. There's a lot of it out there.
Maybe I,
Like
but it's
attack.
like a
So here,
minefield.
Attack on Titan is great and not sexualized at all, but it's great.
But you understand how like this
Um,
is a minefield, and people have told me several times in my life, like, "Oh, you should look at anime, you should watch anime." So when I go to things like Crunchyroll or something and try to look at anime, and even sometimes they suggest me, but they forget to tell me to like fast
so
Afro
forward through a
Samurai.
certain episode, right?
So here's the thing, right? There's different genres of anime, and as you've watched some of it, you kind of you can pick out genres the same way that we here in the West can look at a movie poster and pick out an action movie from a horror movie, from a romantic comedy, from a whatever. If you know what you're looking for, you can tell, okay, this one's about the tits, and this one's like an action, and this one is like you know what you're getting into once you know about
Dev,
it.
but Dev, this is actually I'm hearing repeatedly three people in the conversation be like, I'm hesitant to become familiar enough
Yes.
with the different
Yes.
genres of anime because there's large
Yes.
swaths of it that seem so fucking degenerate. And
Yes.
by the way, like that's kind of my advice to younger people is like, if you see something that has a shitload of violence and sexually developed women, go for it. You'll be a red-blooded American who eats meat and fucking enjoys life, and you don't have any of these problems. However, if you watch, Sailor Moon into your 30s, you're gonna have problems. So that's like
Okay,
I'm
well,
joking,
I
but it's
can't.
kind of my
I
earnest
still
advice
watch Sailor Moon. I still watch Sailor Moon, but probably for different reasons.
for different reasons. Yeah,
Yes.
So I can't help with any of that, but I can at least give you a list of the good stuff.
sure. Well, and so for instance, like there's an awesome thing.
Well,
I
I
forget
did
what
want
it's
to make sure
called.
that Dev got to a certain point before we totally
Yeah.
lose
Oh
him.
yeah, third point.
Yeah.
But I just
Oh.
want to mention the Death Squad anime real quick. The one with they have MG42s and they're walking around in helmets with red eyes and gas masks and they're fighting rebels. Anybody know what I'm talking about?
I have no
Nope.
idea.
Wolf Squad, something like
Nope,
that.
sorry.
I'll look it up. It's okay.
No,
I'll
sorry.
help out.
And then I think another part of the conversation is you have like the very hypersexualized anime, you have the very desexualized anime, and then you have the anime that does include underage sex, but there's clearly an artistic reason for it. And those ones you can probably watch as an adult.
Jinro.
So yeah. So like there's the famous scene in Evangelion where Shinji, Asuka is like in a coma, and he despairs. He's a 15-year-old boy, and he grabs her and like pulls her over, and like she's in a coma, so her body flops over and her boobs fall out, and then he immediately jacks off to them, and then after he's done, he chastises himself for doing it after he's done, and like this is not a sexual scene. It's
Right.
it's not meant to be a sexual scene at all because this is Shinji at his
Hold
at the
on.
lowest point in his life.
But you
I
understand, as
don't
someone who
think-
hasn't seen it, and then you're telling me what it is there's boobies and a dude jacks off to it.
But it's not sexual though.
No, it's not sexual. It's actually not.
Dude, I'm fucking with you.
Evangelion-
That's
yeah,
explicitly
yeah.
sexual. Like it is
No, no.
sexual. It might be filled
No,
with
it's-
shame and guilt and sadness and all that shit, but that's still sexual. And by the way, your description of that gave me a complex. So if I was a 12-year-old who saw that, then
This is
yeah,
not a
like,
show
you're
for
gonna be-
12-year-olds,
you're gonna
man.
be-
This is not a
yeah, you're
show.
gonna be fucked up in the head. But by the way, don't you think that a shitload of people saw that when they were 12 or 13? I guarantee you they did.
Maybe. I mean, I saw it when I was probably 16 or 17, but
Yeah, my
like,
friend Dave was huge into anime, and he was absolutely fucked in the head, and I guarantee you he saw that shit when he was 12 or 13.
here's the thing, right? What I mean though is like, if you're watching the show, you're not getting horny by watching this scene. This is not what the scene is for.
It's not what Eva
But
is
what
about.
happens
Eva,
when you do, though?
Well, hold on, Connor. So, like, and I hear you about Eva because it is like, look, this is one of the great works of anime. Like my friend, really good friend Amanda Wynn Lee, she's in this. It's a classical work of it. I think if you've seen Eva, you know, like the tone Dev is talking out there. What I'm talking about very specifically, let me give you an example of what just makes me so uncomfortable that I go, I'm not sure I can watch this. Another anime that's universally considered one of the greatest stories ever told is The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. I love this. I loved this the first time I saw it. Like, I just really identify with the character. It's fun. It's about a girl. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but like, you have this really energetic, kind of crazy girl that's out there just making like all of her dreams reality, right? But the subtext that they just throw in there as like this side thing is she's constantly sexually assaulting another girl in her class and feeling her up in a way that it's like she needs to go to prison for it. And it's played up as a laugh. And this is just utterly the norm if you watch anime with like that has a lot of women characters in it. It's like Connor, you were saying earlier, like the issue is like denounce it or like run towards it. It's the fact that it's playing all this stuff is, hey, we know you, the audience, are titillated by this. Wink. You know, it's so gross. And as much as I appreciate the themes, it stops me from being able to enjoy it.
Well,
Okay.
hold on a second, because now I got to point out, Brianna, both you and Wick played Final Fantasy X too, where they do the exact same thing in the hot spring scene, and you both love that game.
It was a good game, but I didn't like that part, right? Look, it's one of those things where
this is like
different.
straight up. This
and
is like engaging with Mr. Girl
I don't
content.
remember nudity in that.
I'm not kidding. I want to draw a parallel here.
Well, let me read a super chat for $10 first.
Absolutely.
Don't be such a quack for $10 says, what do you all think of one of the internet's biggest lolcows, Ethan Klein, trying to shit on Vaush when they were saying Tana Mongoose looked like Twinkie at 18? I don't know what
I don't know what that second half is.
I wish I could.
I'll engage with that. So Ethan Klein, the reason why he was a lolcow to me was because largely it seemed like he was muting his own personality in order to appeal to a hyper lefty, hyper woke, hyper progressive audience. So to see him like massively shit talk, be aggressive, be funny, be weird against Vaush, I'm not saying that I want that for Vaush. I wish this had never fucking happened to him. But I think that I would rather see a funny, a funny shit talky Ethan Klein than the fucking cucked lefty bowing whatever the fuck was happening over the past 2 or 3 years. So I'm actually perfectly fine with him shattering his lolcow shell. All right, if y'all don't have,
I felt really bad for Ethan Klein.
I have no clue about what's going on.
I felt really bad for Ethan Klein over the Hassan Israel stuff. I don't know
that looked horrible.
him outside of that, so I can't.
Yeah, so I want to do two things. First one is the thing that I was talking about with the death squads with the MG42s and the like Nazi helmets with the gas masks. It was called Jinroh, Jinroh. I think it's pretty popular actually, and it is about like a cop who's like a part of a SWAT team that's putting down insurgents and stuff, and it does have really cool armor and some cool themes. Then when it comes to, I was joking about how this is like engaging with Mr. Girl content. I don't engage with Mr. Girl content all the time. I really don't. But for instance, the I blank pedophiles song or the Don't Vote song. The I blank pedophile song is actually supposed to be like an empathetic juxtaposition of like how we treat people who are social outcasts and whether or not we should like basically encourage them to delete themselves or delete them ourselves, or whether or not we should extend them the branch of humanity. That way we can all be better together. However, I vibe with the violent lyrics. So as a result, I take it, I still have fun with the thing. Same thing with the Don't Vote thing, which is like a hip hop satire where he's pretending to be like a young rap artist encouraging young black folk not to vote. The obvious point is that there's like a toxic part of hip hop subculture that is encouraging negative behaviors, including not participating in civil society. But in order to engage with these like higher level, interesting kind of nuanced points, you have to deal with the fact that he's the fucking cuties guy, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of I would say that's a parallel back to anime and Japanese weird culture shit. It's like, yeah, sure, you get like fantastic art, but you also get 13-year-old girls diddling each other as a
Yeah.
backdrop.
Yeah. Is it worth the emotional cost?
No. There are other
Well, I
stories
mean,
that don't have
for
that, to be clear. I'm
for
just gonna
for,
answer the question. No.
for someone who grew up with it, I mean, it's already been paid for me, so I can do it. You know.
You consider
Yeah,
yourself
but you're like a
groomed
fish
into it?
swimming in water. You don't know how fucked up you are. We're
Oh,
we're
is that
like
the
we're
case?
like, hey, we're like, hey, Dev, you're swimming in a fucked up culture, and you're like, yeah, well, I've been swimming in it for 15 years, and I'm fine. And you got like fucking 3 gills, and you're like the 3-eyed fish from The Simpsons.
I'm not
Like,
sure I
I'm
have
great.
3 gills going here.
Yeah.
Because, well, here's the thing. Like, if I were to go in and load up a show that is actually about sexualizing underage characters, I wouldn't enjoy it. So I'd be like, this is weird. I would feel weird about it. So I'm
Stunning and
definitely
brave.
not that like that.
Sure.
Stunning and
I
brave.
was joking before, but I think there's a developmental point here. I think that if you're at a weird age, like 12 or 13, and then you're engaging with serious art, so you're engaging your higher level brain, and then it's mixed in with like weird titillation, like Shinji or whatever jerking off to his friend's unconscious corpse, or the girls diddling each other, like Brianna was talking about, then I can't help but expect from the creators and from young adults consuming the media that you're going to have like these mixed up feelings of titillation and shame. And by the way, I think like for lefties, no offense, you guys like that shit. You know, you like titillation mixed with shame and anger and rage and yeah,
Yeah.
and like repressed
Yeah.
resentment against your
That's
parents and
why I come on the
society.
show. That's
No,
why I
seriously,
come on the show.
like I'm joking, but I am serious. Like there is maybe not y'all specifically, but there is like a
No, me specifically.
there is a subgenre of lefty that like the more degenerate and fucked up and weird and the more you're judged about who and what you are, the more you're like, yeah, I'm into this.
Look,
And it's like, God
we
damn it, can you just be
Dev's
normal for 30
TikTok.
seconds?
Just go look at Dev's TikTok Tuesday, okay? Even though it's
Sure.
always on Thursday.
There's lots of weirdos on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is
So
strong evidence for what you're saying.
so
Yeah.
this is the thing, right? There's artistic merit to some of these shows where there's underage people doing sexual things. I would not recommend someone who's underage themselves watch that. You know, it's not for them. You know what I mean? But
But
there's
isn't
still
that
just
almost worse? So now you're encouraging adults to consume art that is mentally stimulating, but also titillating watching underage people do sexual things.
yes, because adults can handle it. They're not going to be mind fucked by it. Like okay, okay. Here, there is a show called Revolutionary
I don't think
Girl.
the Shinji.
Okay, I'll get a different example. So
Yep.
there's a show called Revolutionary Girl Utena. It is an explicitly feminist show. All right,
Uh-huh.
and it's probably one of the great leftist animes out there. And a 14-year-old girl gets raped. You don't see it. It's not titillating. There's like a silhouette of it happening, and it's supposed to be one of those scenes, like one of those tragic scenes, right? I wouldn't say this art should not be made and no one should watch it.
But this would be the my puritanical conservative perspective is that we don't need the 13-year-old girls sexually assaulting each other
Just
in
never
order to
watching
tell the
anime.
mentally stimulating story. We
Right.
don't need the masturbation over your friend's passed out corpse in order to tell the story of Evangelion. Although maybe it's central to the plot, I have no idea. But this kind of reminds me of like the what is it? It's I think it's Hideo Kojima as well. He's like, I assure you, this like 15-minute foot fetish scene is integral to the plot. Like that is that it's a
Of course,
fucking meme
quiet
for a reason.
has to be naked. You're all gonna feel really bad when you understand why.
At least she was an adult, right?
Yeah.
Well, in
yeah,
drawing
fair
more fucked up parallels, Quentin Tarantino, he's got foot shit in every fucking movie, and I love every Quentin Tarantino movie. The foot shit is not necessary to Quentin Tarantino, but can Quentin Tarantino be Quentin Tarantino without the foot shit? I don't
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
I want to get us on track, and I want to say, look, coming back to Vaush, what
Quentin
do
Tarantino
we-
foot shit Vaush.
Wait,
What?
before we
Go
go on
ahead,
track,
go ahead, go
I
ahead.
want to ask
Please,
you one
please,
thing. I want to
please.
ask you one thing, Brianna, because you've
Sure.
seen Evangelion. How essential is the Shinji jacking off scene?
I don't remember this scene enough to say, but I can say, given the tone of this, it is about shame and horror and war and adolescence and all this stuff. I have no doubt that it is done in a way to show the horror. Like, there's something on anime where they will have a character do something that is so effed up, and it's like they're sharing their darkest secret with you, and you look at it and you cannot look away, and it's just part of the horror of the experience. I have no doubt it's a something like that.
I'm
Am
gonna
I
be
right?
real with you.
That's about
I
right.
have a take
Yeah.
on this. Okay, the take is this: there is never any situation where you have to, or there is a
No.
need to use underage sexualization to drive a plot forward. Never. You can do it in other ways. And in fact, I think that too many, not just in anime, but in literature as well, rely on these tropes of kids getting hurt, rape, etc., all these things as a way to show this is bad and evil, and I think that's lazy writing. So it offends me
Wick.
on that level of
I agree.
lazy
Wick,
writing.
Counterpoint. So I agree with you in spirit that a lot of this feels gratuitous, and it feels like the author's barely disguised fetish being inserted into the plot. I agree
Yeah.
with you. I am 99% of the way with you there. However, I would point out that Superbad, and I think Booksmart, which I think is like the girl version of Superbad, is explicitly about older teenagers going on misadventure. Oh, American Pie as well. The entire point of it is coming of age, sexual exploration, becoming an adult. What does it mean to have good
But
relationships,
there's
et
a
cetera,
way
et
to
cetera?
portray that isn't jacking off onto
Yeah.
someone's tits.
There's a way to portray it that is not actually trying to get the audience to be sexually turned on by the hijinks and weird shit that's going on.
And
I agree with you. Yes.
That's the criticism here. It's
'Cause
not that
all
you
of
can't
us,
portray
all
these.
of
for
us
comedic
agreed that
effect.
would be better.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, Dev seems to think that it's integral to
The shame
Neon
is
Genesis
integral to the plot.
Evangelion that this scene happens. And I'm going to tell you, Dev, I haven't seen it, but I'm pressing X to doubt.
Could he not just look sad for 30 seconds? Would that not have the same dramatic effect? Like, can he just
Oh,
stare
like-
into the
Well,
distance
let's
with
let
tears streaming
Dev
down his
answer.
face?
Let's give Dev,
Would that
Dev
be-
some space here.
Would that not be
So here-
narratively effective?
Here's what we'll do, Wick. You and I will sit down and watch the whole thing.
Uh,
Oh, how long is this? And do I want to watch anime?
26 episodes and I think 2 movies, and then there's the remake.
Yep.
It's a long time.
Yep.
no, okay, but
Oh,
no
man.
offense. This is like why I think Vaush is fucked up, because I think he was 13. I think he was 13. I think he
I didn't watch it when I was 13.
Evangelion for the
I didn't
first time.
watch
Yeah,
it when I was 13.
how old were you? Because this might be the difference. How old were you?
17 or 18.
Okay, so you were 17 or 18, so you might have been old enough to handle the things where you're like, oh, I'm not supposed to be turned on by this. This is supposed to be disgusting and gross. And then you have like a budding pubescent person watching this TV series, and they're like, why do I feel turned on while this person is dying and jerking off to their dead friend? Oh, well, I'll just bury that super deep. And then 20 years later, it turns into horse porn. No
Well, to be
offense, but
fair-
this is like, for me, this is like a solid theory on the origins of this entire event.
To be fair, he was a libertarian in his teen years.
See?
Okay.
How
There
it
we
starts
go.
to make more sense.
There we go.
Libertarianism,
There
the
we go.
gateway drug.
Okay.
We
I
are-
want to
we are
ask that
winding down.
question.
Back on track.
I want to
Ask
ask
your
my
question.
question. I want to ask my question.
Go ahead.
Okay, real talk on this. All of us, everyone on this call today has been through the shit on this. And all of us understand how often with this stuff, some part of it is it's not about the issue itself. It is about someone going after someone they already don't like, and it's fun and it's drama, and it's like hunting someone. So I guess my question is like understanding that that can be a background when there are times with utterly legitimate issues. All of us agree this is degenerate stuff. What do you do with someone like Vaush? Like, are they disposable forever? if they make a
No.
mistake and open that folder? Do we just make jokes and every time he's mentioned, go, ha ha, he's a pedophile?
No.
Like,
Nah.
because to me, the way forward is to go, like, look, this is utterly gross. You denounce it. You make it really clear that this is not something you should accept, because the wider mission objective is to not normalize this garbage. I mean, what do y'all
Sure.
want to
I
do in
wanna
this
be
case? Because people are not
I
disposable.
want to be very clear, right? Well, first of
Yes,
all, people are fungible commodities. Let's be real. But second of all, I agree with
only
you
streamers.
100%.
Only
Yeah,
streamers.
I agree with you 100% though, that there is an element of hunting to this where it's bad faith. They don't care about the truth of the matter. That said, that does not excuse what Vaush did. And what I think should happen here, I am not cutting off Vaush. I think if he wanted to talk about this, I would absolutely talk about this. But before I move forward with anything regarding Vaush, I would want to have a conversation with this, if not in public, in private, to kind of gauge things. Because my issue with Vaush specifically is I can't trust him anymore because of this. Because I don't know I don't know him well enough. I have worked with him before, but we aren't friends. We don't talk. I don't know. I just don't know. And so until I can get a better read on this, I can't we can't move forward. Now, if he is if you repent, you will be forgiven. Sorry to use a religious language, but that's just how I was raised. Like, if someone repents, they can do almost anything to me or to those around me and be forgiven, but they have to sincerely repent. And yeah, it's just I don't know at this point. Like that's where I'm at. What's your answer?
Yeah, so the part of the reason why there's always a temptation when any of these things come out to just go for the dunk, to go for the throat, just to rip somebody out. And you know that it's going to be good metrically, you know you're going to get some money out of it, you know you're going to get viewership out of it. The reason why I haven't been doing that is because I know what it feels like to be on the bad side of a dog pile. And
Yep.
when the entire internet is already shit talking somebody, you don't need to add to it, unless like you're just like a vicious twat, right? That being said, I do think that there is something here that was bad. I do think that my theory, while funny, that he started watching fucked up shit and then he made excuses for himself and then he, did whatever he wanted to do because he never thought that it would be perceived by anybody outside of his own circle or outside of his own sphere. I think those are the kind of things that I don't want to see encouraged in society or normalized. So if he says, hey, listen, I looked at fucked up stuff. I fucked up. My bad. I want to move on. There's still plenty of positive things I want to do in the world. Let's focus on those. Let's do it. Then I'll be his friend and I'll help him. If he comes back out in a month and he's like, actually, what I did was based. Everybody should be super degenerate. You should look at whatever is inside your brain. You should go into all the darkest, most weird, screwed up corners of your psyche and you should jerk off to all of it. Then I'm going to be like, nah, brah, I'm not down with it. I don't think it's a good message for kids. I don't think it's a good message for young adults. I don't think it's a good mentoring thing. I don't even think it's good for Vaush.
Yeah.
Which actually, before we leave, I want to make one point, but I'll save it. So it's going to be dependent on his behavior, what he wants to do. If he wants to move forward positively, awesome. If he wants to indulge in depravity, then I'm not going to support it and I'm not going to be a friend to it.
So for me, I think I'm kind of in the inverse position of you, Brianna, because I've had the opportunity to talk to food shops a bunch. I know
Mhm.
that she regrets pretty much everything and how that whole thing went down. I know she feels like she's had a bad rap, especially after. I think right now she's feeling like, why is it that Vaush gets the charitability but I don't? And that's probably a fair question to ask, I think. But the reason that I feel this way about her is because I'm her friend and I've had the opportunity to talk to her a whole bunch, right?
Sure.
Meanwhile, Vaush has said a whole bunch of negative shit about me over the years, and he won't talk to me.
Oh my God,
So,
you're right. Yeah, it is the exact
so
opposite
it's exactly
situation. Yeah.
where you haven't talked to food shops much, and you are Vosh's friend. And it's kind of the opposite with me.
Yeah.
Where it's like I'm if we're talking simply about fairness, Vosh obviously should have a point where he comes back. But if we're just talking about like my own personal
Justice.
feelings, I am going to laugh as he falls apart. And
This
like but
Mhm.
that's my personal feeling.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily want everyone else to be that way, but I don't like him. I'm already predisposed against him, and I know it.
Fair.
This is a
One
wildly
just
important
wait,
point.
just 1 second before you
Mhm.
say it, Connor. I just want to say this again. My objection to food shops is not that she jacks off to Lolly or has
Fair
jacked
enough.
off to
Yes.
Lolly. My objection to food shops is she's been so consistently terrible to me, has acted like a big psycho, and in fact has been doing it in the chat the entire time we've been here. So again, if she wants to talk to me in DMs, I will do that. I'm happy to do that.
Maybe you
But
guys can patch it
yeah,
up. Yeah.
We'll
of
see.
course.
That
The
might be a another day, but we are going to bring in food
I
shops
agree.
after this, like directly after this. So go ahead,
okay.
Connor,
There,
make your last
there's
point, and then we're gonna wrap it up and move to the food
Oh,
shop.
are we?
yeah.
I still didn't
So
get to my
to
crazy theory yet.
How many
okay.
theories do you got, buddy? Like, no, we
I
like
didn't
the
finish. I
content. We
didn't.
like the content.
It's okay. It's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, 2 quick points. So number one, Deb brought up something that is interesting that I would need to see, and I would amend to. I'm going to be like willing to work with in the future, right? Um, Vaush has called conservatives demons, monsters, pedophiles, evil, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and he doesn't put any qualifiers on fascist, Christian authoritarians, whatever. He's literally painting, or at least in some segments, he's painting 50% of the population as irredeemably evil. And I think that moral framework is what allowed him to treat Dev so poorly. So now that he's on the receiving end of a dog pile where he's being vilified, called a pedophile, everybody's going to be treating him charitably for the next year. If he learns an important lesson in humility, where he realizes that he's going to have to be like nuanced and charitable and all that kind of stuff in order to build good relationships with people that are not a part of his tribe, then I'll work with him. If he goes right back to accusing normie conservatives of being like irredeemably evil, fascist, Nazi, bigot, transphobe, whatever, then again, that's going to be a deal breaker for me, because part of the lesson here should be humility. You don't know when you're going to step on the rake in public, and it happens to all of us, by the way.
Yep.
Sorry, other point is basically, I think that this stuff, I'm the libertarian or liberal argument about Lolly does not apply to me. I think that if you play with this part of your brain a lot, you're going to reinforce that part of your brain. You're going to become a worse person. So for all the people who are like, well, Vaush never hurt anybody, nobody was hurt in the production of it, all that kind of stuff. For me, there is a harm, and that harm is to the person who is consuming it. So that is an important moral difference that people need to realize when I talk about it.
Okay. So gang, this has been, I think, a wonderful discussion. It's been frustrating at points, but wonderful nonetheless. That's why it's fun. I'm going to give each of these lovely people a chance to shout themselves out and tell people where you can find them. And then after this, and Connor, you're welcome to stay if you'd like. But I do want to give food
I'll stay
shops,
for a bit.
Yeah, I do want to give food shops. I know you have to go, Woo, but I do want to give food shops a chance to address the allegations. Let's say. I did promise her this that we would do this at some point, and so that point is coming soon. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, we are going to have Adam Mockler, Hutch, Lactoid TV, and Tyler, and we're going to be discussing the Her Report. We're going to be discussing in depth, is Biden fit for office? So if you want more political content, that's where you're going to go tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern. And then Thursday, we're going to have Lav on to take call-ins. And with that, let's get to the shout-outs. Let's start with Dev, and we'll work our way around and end with Woo. So Dev, go ahead. Where can people find you?
Just out of curiosity, you're not having food shops on live? I thought you
No,
were.
we are. We're not ending. I'm
Oh,
just
okay.
ending this
Oh,
segment.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just
Yeah,
doing
we're
an
not
outro,
ending.
so
We're doing
Right,
outro
right,
so
right.
everyone can.
Listen,
Yeah.
listen. I'm not part of Twitch, Paul. I don't know how you guys do anything. Okay, I don't fucking know what's going on. I mean, I'm Dev, Shurfire Otaku. I pretty much have the name on lockdown because no one wants it. So you can just find it. I guess I'll say, here's the thing. Hold on, Wick, can you give me 30 seconds to like speed run my theory?
Go.
Okay, real quick. Brianna and counterpoints. You both said, you said something along the lines of Vaush isn't trying to normalize it, right? I think he is, but it's a shaky theory. I'm not gonna stake my reputation on it, but I actually think he is. But it's gonna involve a whole bunch of gay political theory. But I think he
If it's
is.
an incremental thing, then I'll fight it tooth and nail. And if it comes back up again, then I will view him as a political opponent, and not a potential ally.
Okay,
I agree.
TLDR. Vaush has spoken many times about the book Mass Psychology of Fascism and how important it is to all of his political views. In that book, the theory is basically laid out that fascism takes hold because of a certain personality type in people. And the best way to uh, basically manufacture that personality type is through sexual repression. And so sexual openness becomes anti-fascism. And so you should be raising children to be more sexually open, so that they'll be more sexually open as adults, so that they will be less likely to become fascists later. So the issue
Yeah.
is that like
Mhm.
Vaush has danced around this so many times in so many videos and streams, but he's never directly said it. But he's danced around the idea, and he's referenced this book many, many, many times.
Okay.
So this is
Yeah.
one of those
So what
things
this
where I have to
book
like, yeah.
what this book doesn't take into account is that your weirdly openly sexual kids might not be fascist, but you're going to make me a fascist by making them be around them, justifying lolicon. So yeah. So
Right.
I don't understand the point.
Okay, we're
Forgive me if I'm misunderstanding
throwing a
it.
flag.
Isn't it?
Throwing a
Yeah,
flag
go
on
ahead.
this because
Okay,
otherwise it's going to be
okay.
another hour-long
Right.
discussion.
Yeah,
It's
this is a
10:20.
political theory
Fair
topic.
enough.
It's not like Vaush's actual
Okay.
actions.
I'll
It's a political
DM it.
theory
I'll
topic.
DM it
Yeah,
to
well,
you.
we can
I'll
do
Sure,
this
sure.
DM it.
again another day. Like this doesn't have to be the end forever. Okay, Connor, and then we'll. So Connor, short, sweet, concise, snappy.
95% of my channel views are Warhammer 40k or science fiction. So go to Counterpoints 40k, check it out. Down in the description below, there's Counterfire, which is the shared channel with Brianna Wu, where we're going to be doing
Yeah.
debate and news review content. And then finally, Counterpoints is my essay channel that's very neglected, but I promise we will get around to it. So go check me out. We're good people.
Is that the podcast that you guys invited Food Shops onto?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of fire?
Well,
Okay.
if she can be sane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And thank you for being here, Connor. Really appreciate you. Now, if Food Shops doesn't want you here for the discussion, I will have to let you go. Food Shop's going to
That's
be
fine.
able to tell, because this will be her segment. It'll be up to her. Wu, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for having me here, Wick. It's been too long. Yeah, Dev, I just I have a lot of friends, but I'm really thankful that you and I met, and I really appreciate being able to talk. And I've had a great time today on the show. It's always a really good
Yeah, same.
discussion,
Same.
and I really love I increasingly love moments like this. Like Connor, you're on the right, Dev, you're in the middle, and I think I think all of us that are able to think through arguments and talk through like why we feel the way we do, I really treasure every single one of these friendships, especially when it's people that I disagree with. So I just want to plug before I jump on out. Counterfire, like Connor and I are starting that this week. My whole theory with this is I love drama content, but I love smart drama content. So Connor and I are going to make a mission of debating the crazies. I'm going to find the craziest, most deranged people to go after me on Twitter, and I'm going to invite them on the show. So I hope it'll be a good format. It can be some smart conversation, and I hope y'all will all tune in for it. Thanks for having me here,
We'll
Wick.
see how it goes. No, thanks for being here. This has been a great show. And with that, I'm going to let you go, Brianna. We'll see you later.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, gang. Some ground rules here. Food Chops is coming up. Food Chops. Again, I don't want to ambush her, so if she doesn't want you there, counterpoints. I'm gonna unfortunately say.
You know
goodbye to
me,
you.
I play nice.
But we'll see. We'll see what she has to say. We'll bring her on and we'll let her talk. Now, to be clear to my audience, in case anyone has been telling you otherwise, from the beginning, I told Food Chops that she was gonna be a side conversation here, right? She wasn't the main focus. She was never going to be the main focus. But as a courtesy, because I do believe in hearing everyone out, I did offer her a chance to come on today when we were done with the main conversation. We are done with the main conversation. So now it is her turn. Let's bring her on. You're live.
She's also
Give her a
completely
second.
muted.
It's been a while, right? Oh, she can see us.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
So, first question, and again, up to you.
Wait, no.
Do you want
Hold on,
counter here, or
hold
do
on.
we want to kick him off? I'll do either. Up to you.
Okay. Connor can stay here. It's fine.
Are you sure?
Right.
No, there's no
Yes,
shame in
that's
saying
fine.
no.
I assume you don't want me to troll you?
No. I'm fine. Okay. All right.
Okay.
If I was brought on an hour earlier, I probably would, probably make my arguments on this panel. Of course, I think, you're a good person. I think Connor is a good person. Now, here's the thing: is what I don't appreciate is this. Okay, is basically, I think originally we agreed on, I think 7. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I said
Yeah,
it would
7.
probably be 7 when we were done with the main conversation, but
Sure,
obviously
sure.
they like to
And
talk,
then,
and so I underestimated that.
oh, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Mm.
I want to show you. I want to show you how it sort of built up to it. Okay, so it was 7 p.m. first, right? And then, because I'm trying to add 3 hours because I live in Pacific, right?
Sure.
And then it was pushed back an hour, which I was also fine with, right? And then, you told me Brianna Wu didn't want to have me on, right?
Mhm.
And I also accepted that, right? Now, hold on, just 1 second. I sort of want to just disable. Hold on. All right. Okay. And then what happened was, at some point it was past the 5 p.m. The 8 p.m. point, right? And I DM'd you. I was like, hey, we are sort of 30 minutes past the point, or sort of past the point. I don't think I said 30 minutes, right? Okay. I accept that you didn't respond. It's fine, right? Then obviously I say, hey, Wick, check DMs in the chat, right? You did not check DMs, or maybe you did, but you
I
didn't
did
respond
not,
yet.
because
Okay,
I was moderating a show. I was busy.
that's fine.
Yes, absolutely.
That's okay.
Mhm.
All right. So at some point, all right, I sort of got, sure, I got impatient. However, I felt as though the terms have changed enough to the point where I began to complain, right? And now you can say that I'm being rude in the chat. However, I would say that I had apt justification to complain in the chat publicly. Okay. And
Okay.
then at some point, because of my complaining, um, you guys had a short segment in which you guys were dogging on me, right? Now at that point, it is considered, polite to let me on because you guys are dogging on me, right? At that moment, because at that point, the arguments are fresh in my mind, the arguments are fresh in your mind, and we are able to hash them out, right? Now, and then, it just sort of went back and forth for a really long time until, now, right? So, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I have no problem having this conversation with you. I have no problem remedying stuff with you. However, I feel hurt and I feel disrespected. And here's the thing: is that I'm as much of a person as Vaush. I'm as much of a person as Destiny, and painting me as schizo, unhinged, a drama farmer is an easy way to discount my arguments when I think right now I'm articulating just fine, when I think that I articulated far better than I did months
So
ago.
how about
Okay.
this?
So
We
I'm
can
not
either
gonna
do
grace you
this.
with clout
We
and
could
I'm
do
gonna
this.
go now. Bye.
Whoa.
Oh,
Okay. Well, she's welcome to reschedule if she wants, but she is not the main character. I will do whatever I fucking want with my fucking show, and to try to manipulate people, right? There's a reason that people don't trust Food Chops or want her around or want her on, okay? And she has every right to feel upset or hurt or anything like that. But to come on to my show when I have graciously, right, unbanned her for the specific purpose, right, to hear her out, to hear her side, right? And because it wasn't in the time that she wanted, if she had been like, hey, I can't do it right now, it's too late, you guys went too long, let's do it another day, perfectly fine. And she's still welcome to do that. But let's not pretend that that was anything other, right, than this entitled bullshit. Okay. So that's
can
it.
I
Go ahead.
hit it? Yeah. So what I would say is that this is the game. It is what it is. We're all creators. When you have a certain amount, we're all competing for time and attention and the money that's there. You make hay while the sun shines. So when you have a few creators who are in the room and they want to talk, then you let them talk. That way you can have good content. And then also, platform sizes are all relative. But the truth is that when somebody comes on to a show or whatever, you are afforded the dignity and grace and etiquette of the person that you're going onto the platform with. So what I would say is just Jordan Peterson has this fantastic idea. It's not about winning an individual game. It's about winning the most amount of games over an extended period of time. So if you're constantly trying to like shit on people or fight them or win the individual game, but then you find that you're losing a series of games, then you're playing the game wrong. And so really what I'm encouraging is tact, grace, understanding, and attempting to be charitable to people who are maybe trying to be charitable to you.
Asta?
So
That's all I got.
I wouldn't have walked out like that if I were her.
Sure.
But I understand her frustration of being
I
told that
think
she
we
could come on at
understand it
some
too.
point. Yeah.
No, I get it.
Being
right?
like hold on, let me just say it. Like being told that you can come on and then having people talk about you and then the moment's pass. Like I can understand being frustrated by that.
Sure. I think we understand it too because people as budding creators, we didn't get here overnight. We've had people shit talk us that we weren't allowed onto the shows. We've gotten dogpiled in fucking panel debate shows. We've had people who we have actively. I'm speaking for Wick, but I actively have people who don't like me. It kind of it is what it is at some point. So you kind of gotta roll with the punches as they appear. That's all you can do.
Yeah, it's this level. Look, the reason I'm frustrated now, right? And I understand her frustration. I get it, right? It went overtime. That happens.
Yep.
But this isn't.
I don't
not
throw
her
a fit when it's
show.
kick or keep and people are
It's
running
not her
overtime.
show. I don't know, right? And this was a courtesy. It was never going to
Or
be.
Reverie
It was never
Roundtable
supposed
or
to be
Hippy
her
Dippy or
event,
whatever.
right? Oh, I don't know. I'm just frustrated now. $2 from Antelope the Greek to say victim complex of the century when truck baiting. I don't know. It's a victim complex of the century. I've seen much worse, right? But yeah, it's again.
Yeah,
here
we've all
you
seen a
have,
lot worse.
right? The opportunity is here. This is when I have time. Oh.
Well, maybe we can figure it out someday
Yeah,
in the
I'm
future.
more than willing to reschedule if she wants to reschedule. Again, I want to hear her out. Like, again, I want to be clear what this was for my audience. We unbanned her specifically for this because she had made some comments that I found disturbing, and I'd seen some clips that I found disturbing, but I wanted to give a chance for everyone, and I think everyone deserves a chance to be heard. So rather than just take that ban off the thing, I was like, okay, let's hear you out. Let's give you a chance to explain it. Let's give you a chance to talk about it with me, and maybe we'll see, right? Because I know there's a lot of people who will be dishonest with portraying how these things are. That just happens, right? So I wanted to give them a real chance, and yeah, it's just it just got to work for my schedule. So
Yeah, I mean, I guess then since I do feel right speaking in her defense a bit, this is all stuff she has actually walked back on her own stream before. I've heard her do it many times. She's done it to me several times. So
yeah,
and
I would
don't
like to
feel,
hear her do it though. Is the thing like
yeah, I completely understand. I completely understand. But like I'll vouch for it for whatever that is worth. That I've heard her do it before.
Thank you.
And so like
Good.
I can understand the frustration of seeing some apologia for Vaush when she got like absolutely fucking destroyed over the same thing. And it's like,
Well,
yeah, I get it.
yeah.
I get it. I understand.
So there's an interesting thing there. Yeah, I think Chad has said it. Apologia. I'm not the only apologia that I would or that I think I engage in tonight is accepting like Vosh's explanation for the rhetorical arguments that he was doing early in his career, but I don't think I ever said like, "Oh yeah, that means that what he, that means that the horse lolicon porn is based," right?
I
I
didn't
don't think
mean
that
you.
ever fucking
Yeah, no,
happened.
I didn't mean you when I
Did
mentioned
did
apologia.
did other people make apologia for that?
I think I've definitely. Well, I mean, Brianna did a little bit, but not much. But I have seen some people who were like very happy, to like shit on food shops when she was the topic of conversation, turn around
Right.
and be like, "Well, I like Vosh though." So I've seen other people do that. People who
Yeah.
weren't here tonight. I've seen that. I've seen them do it, and it's like
Okay.
that doesn't feel right.
And
that doesn't
I
feel right.
just want to be clear. I have never done a show shitting on food shops. Never.
Yeah.
Not once. Right? I've never done a show shitting on Vaush either, right? Until maybe tonight. If you want to count tonight as it, right? You know what I mean? Like I've had criticisms of Vaush. I've had criticisms of food shops, right? But I just don't generally engage in that. So yeah. Anyway. I will say that this was a poor showing. But it is what it is. So
It is what it is. And by the way, we all have poor showings. Okay, that's like Dev.
yeah, you get
that's something
emotional and
interesting.
yeah, I get it.
Well, that's something that Dev said that I think is important is like that lack of charitability that he's shown to right wing creators, basically like accusing like Sitch and Adam of being fucking closet Nazis or whatever the fuck. Like, dude, like if going forward, if he keeps doing that shit, then I'm not gonna feel sorry for you. Like next time that like a big controversy happens and you get fucking dogpiled and everybody's like breathing down your neck and calling you a fucking piece of shit, if you don't learn your lesson that it fucking sucks to be the one getting dogpiled, if you don't learn that shit, then I'm not gonna feel sorry for you next time it happens. So my like grace, or not that like Vosh needs me to succeed or anything, but my grace and interest in working with him in the future is based off of that 100%.